Yeah, man, we back again with another episode of Round the Way Podcast, man.
Yeah, what's up, your boy SB, man? Today we got a special guest today, all the way from Philly, our boy, Dr. Umar.
Peace and Pan-Africanism. Glad to be here. Miami, what up?
How you doing, King?
I'm well.
Good to meet you,
All is
man.
well. Glad to be here.
How was your flight?
Pretty good. Nice and quick.
Okay. And how long you said it's been since you've been here again?
2 years. I was in Miami 2020 to release my second book, Black Parent Advocate, The Art of War for Dealing with America's Public and Charter Schools.
Okay.
But it's always love when I come to Miami, though. Always love. I'm normally in Fort Lauderdale, mostly, but always love when I come to Miami.
Okay. So, Dr. Umar.
Yes, sir.
I got some questions, man. Like not even like more like a debate.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Not debate, more like a conversation, I should say.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of things I want to ask you about. Like, I want to jump right into it. Like, it's one of the questions I want to ask you about, right? I'm Jamaican. My background is Jamaican, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been noticing that it's a lot of like different, like say Chinese, like in all these other Caribbean countries and like in Africa, and these are all places that once was owned by, were ran by Europeans or Americans. How comes Americans and the Europeans are making the Chinese take over all these places they once ruled, like the Caribbeans and in Africa?
Great question. A couple of points. Point number one, when the Europeans left the islands at the end of slavery and colonization, they left East Indians and Chinese in charge of the economy to make sure African people could never be financially empowered. So the Chinese and the East Indians were used as a buffer between the colonizer and the black man and woman. No one expected China to reinvent herself in the modern time. So when Mao Zedong led the Chinese Revolution, it caught the whole world off guard because no one really saw China as having the potential of being an economic power. So what Mao Zedong did was he said, we're not going to waste a lot of time trying to come up with an original invention out of the Chinese mind. We're going to send our youth all around the world to study what everybody else does. And we're going to learn how to replicate what is already on the market. So the Chinese, they cornered the avenue of reproducing automobile, reproducing computer, reproducing telephone, reproducing cheap goods, reproducing clothing and apparel. The Chinese said, we don't have to outdo them. All we have to do is replicate them. And in doing that, China became the Walmart of the planet Earth. Whereas from a capitalist economy, the things you sell require people to have a good enough source of income to afford it. You're selling a house, you're selling a car, you're selling an HD TV. You have to be able to afford that. China stepped back and China said, 2/3 of the world lives on less than $5 a day. So if 2/3 of the world lives on less than $5 a day, we can beat capitalism, i.e. the white man, by simply catering to the needs of the world's poor. So when China started becoming the world's largest manufacturer of cheap goods, they automatically created a dependency of all the poor people in the world upon China for food, clothing, and everything. So the white man says, how do we stop this growing power that China is having? We was looking at controlling the expensive goods, the diamonds and all of that. Chinese said, forget all that. We're going to make cheap guns. We're going to make cheap food. We're going to make cheap clothes. We're going to make cheap cars. We're going to corner the market on poverty. So now the problem that the white man got is the yellow man has a monopoly on cheap goods. Everybody in the world is dependent on China if you live an impoverished lifestyle. How can capitalism undermine communism when capitalism is about the big dollar and communism is about the small dollar? So now we come to the modern era. The Chinese have always had an agenda of global conquest, politically speaking. So they're looking at this and they say, wait a minute, the black man is tired of the white man. But the black man is also multicultural, so the black man won't understand that the yellow man is as racist as the white man. So in the post-colonial Africa, post-colonial the Caribbean islands, we saw the Russians at first during the Cold War as an ally. Then we woke up and recognized that the Russians were still white and racist. So then when the Chinese start showing up in Africa with these loans, the black man said, well, white man didn't work. Let's work with the yellow man. Now, the reason China is so thirsty for Africa is because whoever controls Africa controls the world. Because most of the minerals necessary for a technologically sophisticated society and for a militaristically dominant society, those minerals come from Africa.
Yeah.
So if you want to be the biggest economy, you got to control the resources of the continent. If you want to be the strongest military, you got to control the resources of the continent. Now, there's other reasons why China is in love with Africa and the Caribbean islands. Number one, China is overpopulated. I was invited to speak there twice. Overpopulated. You think rush hour in Miami or something? Go to rush hour in China. It might take you 3 hours to get home. That's why everybody ride bikes in China, because they don't want to wait in the traffic. So the Chinese man, the yellow man, he needs to be able to unload his excess population. He got 2 billion. We got to get him up out of here. What better place than Africa? So much of the continent is undeveloped. We can spread them all over. So that's one benefit to Africa. I can get rid of all my undesirables. Number one. Number two, I have a surplus of cheap goods. Even though I run the market on cheap goods, I got a surplus of cheap goods. Where can I go and sell these cheap materials and turn a profit? What better place than Africa? And then on top of that, I need some sort of control over the resources of the land in order to make myself a global power. That's Africa. Same thing with the Caribbean islands. Now, the danger of Jamaica coming so close to being called a Chinese colony lies in the fact that most people see Jamaica as the most revolutionary of the islands. So if China can take Jamaica, China can take the whole Caribbean.
Else, yeah.
They sold the port, very dangerous to do that. They let the Chinese buy that build that east-west highway, north-south highway. And then they gave the Chinese all the money from the tolls. They get to collect all the toll money on this highway for like the next 15 years. Why would you do that? If you're going to pay them, pay them. But here's the issue I got with Jamaica. I got with Africa. I got it with all the black countries when it comes to China. You have universities in Jamaica. You have universities in Africa. Why are you hiring Chinese engineers to come build your roads, build your buildings, create your infrastructure? If you have an engineering program, your students should be building your buildings. Your students should be laying down your roads. And I was in Jamaica last, they told me, they said, Dr. Umar, that the Chinese put this road down right now. 2 years later, it'll be rolling back up like a fruit roll up. They told me it's not even quality. They told me that in Jamaica. They said it's not even, come back in a year, this road will be rolling up like a fruit, like a blunt. You can roll the road up like a blunt, right? Yeah. So they're not even using quality material, they're using garbage. And they're getting all these concessions from the Jamaican government, from African government. Uganda, I think it was. One of the African countries had to sell off, what did they sell off? They sold off a port. They lost a port to the Chinese because they defaulted on a loan. All this the Chinese is doing, none of it is being done as a handout. It's all loans with conditions. And the Chinese are creating conditions that they know you can't fulfill because ultimately they want the whole country. And then you have the danger of what's happening in Nigeria, where the Chinese men are marrying Nigerian women, having babies with Nigerian women, because in most African countries, foreigners can't own land. So the Chinese say, if I can't own land, how do I get around owning the land? Impregnate the women. That child is a Nigerian, even though he's gonna be loyal to China. You see that? So in the next 40 years, you're gonna have a whole class of Chinese Nigerians, Chinese Jamaicans, you follow me? Who have the blood of their mother, but the mentality of their father. It's colonization all over again. And I think when we talk about this whole snow bunny crisis, I think Caribbean governments and African governments need to pass laws that make it illegal for foreigners and immigrants to come in their country and intentionally mass impregnate the black women. They're doing it. You can tell why they're doing it. You can tell. We're going to do this so we can rule this land through our mixed race Chinese African children. Something needs to be done about that, because if you have poor African women looking for a better life, I understand. I'm going to have this Chinese man's baby because I've already been brainwashed into thinking Chinese are smarter than Africans. You feel me?
Yeah.
So the women are going to do it. Here's the issue with the Caribbean and Africa. Any country that allows immigrants and foreigners into their land who show up with wealth, who can invest and build, if you do not empower the native Jamaican, the native Nigerian to build in their native land, you can count the amount of years. You can count the years.
The control you're going to have.
Before the Chinese will own it.
Yeah.
You can count the years before they'll own Nigeria. You follow?
Yeah, facts.
I'm the president. He's a foreigner. He has his own money. You don't have nothing. You live here. You was born here. This is your land. But he's coming with a line of credit from China. You have nothing. If I don't empower you as a government to build your own, it's a matter of time that he'll own it. You see the same thing in South Africa. When I was last in South Africa, they told me, Dr. Umar, if the South African government keeps on allowing East Indians and Chinese to come into South Africa, we can see a time where there will be more of them than it is us. And we already have that reality where? Trinidad. In Trinidad and Tobago, the East Indian outnumbers the African. So God forbid if there was a clash, the East Indians would probably win, not just on numerical strength, but they own the used car industry. They own and run a lot of the petty shops. So not only do I have a numerical minority over the black man, I have an economic influence over the black man. They told me flat out that the East Indians are the ones bringing the drugs and the guns in through the used cars. They said they packed the used car with the dope and the guns, and that's how they bring it into Trinidad. So they already know what's going on. But my point is, Trinidad is just one example. If you keep on letting immigrants come in, invest, buy land, own land, build industry, and you don't empower Jamaicans, Nigerians, or anyone else to push back and challenge them, you've basically sold your island to them already.
All right, but Umar,
Makes sense.
But you don't believe in voting, so how?
No, I believe in voting when I have something to vote for.
Okay.
The issue with electoral politics and black people, whether it's America, Africa, or the Caribbean, is we often have nothing to vote for. And the reason we often have nothing to vote for is this party and its so-called antagonists, this party, are both financed by that Chinese man. They're both financed by that white man. Yeah. They're both financed by that East Indian. So they got everybody running around Jamaica, who you going to vote for? Running around the United States of America, who you going to vote for? Running around South Africa, who you going to vote for? When at the end of the day, no matter who wins, he wins because he financed both campaigns. I'm not against voting, but I will only vote when you give me a reason.
Okay.
Let's take voting in America. Black people in America never get anything when they vote. So how do they motivate us to vote if we never get nothing when we do? Fear. Black people are the only constituency in this country who vote out of fear. In other words, I'm not voting to stop police brutality because they're not going to stop it. I'm not voting to change mass incarceration. They're not going to change it. I'm not voting to fix the schools. They're never going to fix them. So what you voting for? Because I'm afraid of what Trump might do. You see that? That's how we vote, fear. Now, when the Jews go to the polls, when the Latinos go to the polls, when the Arabs, the East Indians, the Anglo-Saxons go to the polls, they're going for concessions. I'm getting something out of this vote. I'm getting something that we already agreed upon before Election Day. Black people are getting nothing. We vote out of fear. Our motivation is fear. Joe Biden may do nothing for you, but Donald Trump will be worse. See how that works? Yeah. This is how they get us out. The black man is the only one in the voting line voting because he's scared of what the other man might do to him.
The other people they already got something coming to them already.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. And even the first question about Jamaica, right? I was watching in the Africa. I was watching something the other day on live, and you said something like the Chinese and the white Americans or Europeans. You said like in Yale, I forgot, Yale or Harvard, you said they're doing a study where they're trying to combine the race together.
Well,
I don't know if I'm saying it wrong.
Two things. You're combining 2 points. Let me break them down. One is the Chinese are suing. They brought suit to the U.S. Supreme Court. They're suing Harvard and the University of North Carolina. But they're being financed by white racist conservatives. So white people are using the Chinese.
So basically they're in cahoots, I'm trying to say.
They're in cahoots.
Okay.
To overthrow affirmative action in college admission decisions. So for example, you apply to the University of Miami. They're gonna look at your socioeconomic status. They're gonna look at the challenges you went through to get here. They're gonna look at who you are as a person, right? Now the Chinese guy might got a higher test score than you. But the University of North Carolina, Harvard, and the other school gonna say, okay, they might have a higher test score, but he's a much more well-rounded student. He's what we're looking for. Not only that, we need to make sure we have some black people in here because at the end of the day, aren't they the people who built this country? Not the Chinese, black people did, right? So the Chinese are saying, screw all that. Screw slavery, screw history, we don't care. If we got higher test scores and better grades, we should automatically get the spot. We don't care about race, culture, previous condition of servitude, socioeconomic status. The Chinese want all that thrown out, and they want every college in America to strictly look at test scores and grades.
Okay. All right.
If they succeed, and mind you, the white man is funding this. So this is a white-Chinese alliance to gentrify the black student off the PWI's campus. If they succeed, the amount of black students at the PWI, which is already small, is going to get smaller. You're going to see a situation where the only black people at a white school are going to be the athletes, right? The amount of Chinese at the PWI is going to go up about 50, 60% if the Supreme Court overthrows this. Now, here's what I need y'all to understand. The white man don't care about Chinese. He don't care about Chinese. He's using the Chinese because if the white man says white students are being discriminated against in preference for black students, that's gonna look like obvious racism, ain't it? Mm-hmm. That's obvious racism. So we're gonna use the yellow people. If we use the yellow people, it don't look like racism.
Yeah.
So this ain't nothing but white racism in a yellow face.
Yeah.
You understand? But this ain't the first time that whites and Asians have worked together. I believe that the US government, the white power structure, is going to use the Chinese American as its new probationary white. The Chinese American is being groomed to be a substitute class for white people, given that their numbers are shrinking in this country. 25 states have a 0 population growth rate for white people. More white people are dying than being born in 25 states. Whenever they have a population drop in American history, they always look to find another group that they can bring in and bring them under the white umbrella. Arabs, for example. As much as America claims to have an issue with the Arabic countries and the so-called war on terrorism, Arabs are considered white for purposes of the U.S. Census. If you are an Arab, you are white in this country. Yeah. Oh, yes. Arabs are white.
Damn.
Chinese historically fought to be considered white, but they lost in court. Chinese Mexicans also fought to be called white, and they lost in court. So the Chinese would be more than happy to finally get that white status. But whether or not they get the white status or not, they're still going to be figuratively and practically a probationary white group that can be used to keep black people in their place. Just like with COVID, you're not going to tell me that the Chinese government and the American government didn't work together to release COVID. You can't tell me that these two countries can't stand each other, but y'all was able to get along long enough to get that Wuhan lab up and popping and get that COVID running around. I'll be honest with you. I think America, I think the white man and the yellow man have already decided they're going to take the black man's land. I believe this. And I believe to a large extent in public, China and America are acting like they don't like each other. They don't like each other. But when it comes to Africa, they're acting like they don't like each other when they really have a deal behind closed doors. You understand me? I believe America and China has already met and said, listen, if these Negroes are going to keep on letting us in and doing what we want, y'all take these countries, we gonna take these countries to prevent a World War III. I really believe that. The Chinese man and the American white man, they're working together. Just like they're doing with the Harvard lawsuit and the Carolina lawsuit, they're working together.
Gotcha.
So I'm saying, how do you think we as blacks get it back to the Black Wall Street days and those type of times?
Mm-hmm. Well, you change nothing for African people until you change the consciousness of African people. Our biggest issue is our psychology. We are multicultural to a fault. We have been brainwashed by black religion into believing putting your race first is a sin against God. We're the only people whose religion is totally separate from their political struggle. The European Jew can go into a synagogue and pray to his white God. And when he's done praying to his white God in the synagogue, he can sit around and talk about how to get the rest of your money right there in the synagogue. When the Arab is done making salat on Friday, he can stay in the masjid and talk about how to open up a few more 7-Elevens in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Mm-hmm. There's no separation between worship of God and political economic empowerment. Mm-hmm. But when you come to the black community, go to one of these churches in Miami and say we want to have a conversation on Sunday about how to bring back the black dollar, how to make the Democratic Party accountable to black people, how to make the police accountable to the black community. You know what they're going to tell you? We don't allow political conversation in here. Mm-hmm. This is the Lord's house. You come here to pray. You want to talk that black stuff? Go down the street. They don't do that in the Jewish synagogue. They don't do that in the Arab masjid. Yeah. The Chinese are Christian too, some of them, but guess what? In the Chinese church, they handle all business pertinent to the Chinese people right there. We are split. How can I serve a God that doesn't allow me to organize for black power in the name of that God? And so religion has hypnotized us into a multiculturalism that is going to put black people in a state of perpetual genocide if we don't do something soon. Being ashamed to be black, hating being black, not wanting to be black. What do you see going on right now? This whole identity crisis we got in the black consciousness community. Mm-hmm. Negroes hate being black so much, they wake up one day, I'm a Native American.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm a Cherokee. Yeah. I'm a Choctaw. Yeah. I'm a Seminole.
Yep.
But nobody told them the Cherokees own African slaves. Nobody told them the Choctaws own African slaves. Nobody told them the Seminoles own African slaves. So if your mother got Cherokee in her family, how do we know your mother wasn't a slave of the Cherokee?
Damn.
Yeah.
And the 5 major Native American tribes fought with the Confederacy against the freedom of black people. They fought to maintain slavery, and we running around bragging, talking about I got Native American. So red blood is better than white blood? Slave blood is slave blood. I don't give a damn if it's a red slave master, a yellow slave master, or a brown slave master. The point that I'm making is this. If we want black people to get on board with a truly global Pan-African liberation struggle, we have to give them something to be proud of. The most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said we have to sell black people back to themselves. We have to make them proud to be black, and that begins with economics and education. Until we can hire black men, until we can hire black women, until we can provide an economic opportunity for members of our community, they'll never be loyal to us. And that's why we have more sellouts, more traitors, more Negropeans, more snow bunny lovers than any other race, because we are the least likely to be able to provide an opportunity for our own people. Chinese kids can get a job from the Chinese community. Arabs can get a job from the Arab community. Latinos could get a job from the Latino community. Mm-hmm. How many black kids in Miami who need an after-school job can come and get one from black people? And then you got the black church, the biggest exploiter of the black community, taking in billions of dollars a year. Billions! Y'all got mega churches in Miami.
Yeah.
How many black men these mega churches putting to work? How many single mothers these mega churches in Miami putting to work? Are any of these mega churches fighting against mass incarceration, miseducation, gentrification, police genocide, or access to wealth? None of them. You can't find a church in America that's at the front line of fighting for better schools, against police brutality, against economic apartheid, against miseducation and mass incarceration. How can you claim to be a servant of the Lord? How can you claim to be a man of God, but you okay with your people living in hell? Black people living in hell. Black people living in hell, catching hell, living in hell. And the pastor, who's supposed to be an agent of the Lord, is absolutely comfortable with you living in hell. They say money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. The love of money is not even the root of all evil. The root of all evil is not having no damn money. When you leave here tonight, are you ducking from rich people? No, you're looking out for Mike, and Tay-Tay because they hungry as shit and they'll take your car, your jewelry, your money. You understand me? Being broke, you understand? It's the need for money. That's the devil's work. You understand me? And the black church is not empowering black people to escape poverty.
All right, doctor. Doctor, I got to ask you, right? So, do you believe in religion?
Do I believe in religion? Be more specific with that question.
Okay, all right. Do you, Africans, right? Do we have a higher power that we pray to before Christianity came to?
Absolutely, but that's not religion, that's spirituality. I believe in spirituality, I don't believe in religion. Let me give you the difference.
Teach me, boss.
Spirituality is a personal and community system of trying to comprehend one's relationship with God, trying to figure out one's purpose in life, and trying to achieve God consciousness, which is reunion with your creator. That's spirituality. Religion is a system of psychological control and economic exploitation by parasites in the community who simply want to live off other people's money without earning it. And so they manipulate you into believing that only if you believe in this particular religious narrative that can't be proven, can't be scientifically validated. Jesus Christ don't have a cemetery. There's no gravestone. Moses has no gravestone. Muhammad ibn Abdullah have no gravestone. Noah, Jacob, where is the grave for these religious leaders? I'm not arguing that they don't exist.
Oh, yeah, you know that.
I'm not arguing that they don't exist. What I'm saying is your religious beliefs cannot be scientifically verified. You understand me? Spirituality doesn't concern itself with religious narrative. In other words, when you look at traditional African spirituality, even if you look at Chinese, and we gave it to them because we civilized China, East India, we gave it to them, we civilized them.
I got a good question.
They focus on establishing a relationship with supreme consciousness. They don't focus on, I'm talking about their traditional spiritual systems, not their modern stuff like Christianity. They don't focus on whether or not Jesus Christ was your savior, whether or not Muhammad was the last prophet of God, whether or not Moses was sit with the 10 Commandments. You understand me? They don't focus on that because that is doctrine and dogma, and doctrine and dogma has nothing to do with building a relationship with God. Let me give you an example. Neither one of you know your mother, hypothetically. You don't know your mom. You finally found out who your mother was. And I show up and I say, before you can know your mother, I'm gonna give you a whole sheet of things you gotta believe about your mother. You gotta believe this, you gotta believe that. Can I ask you a question? Believing any of these things I told you are a precondition to building a relationship with your mother. Does any of these beliefs help you build a relationship with your mom? No. Does it? No. The relationship is built through what? Direct contact.
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of dogma? What is the purpose of having people believe Jesus died for your sins? What is the purpose of having people believe Muhammad was the last prophet? And I respect both religions. Don't get me wrong. I was raised in both of them.
Control.
I'll pray in the masjid. I'll pray in the church. Control.
Yeah, control.
It's mind control. Whenever a Negro pops up claiming to be sent by God, you know you're dealing with a hustler.
Yeah.
You know you're dealing with a hustler. I don't give a damn who it is.
Control.
I don't care how long ago they lived.
No exception.
Any black person who has ever come to the black community claiming to be sent by God was a hustler. And one of the reasons why I have so much respect for people like the Honorable Frederick Douglass and the Honorable Marcus Garvey is because neither one of them sought to exploit the religious weaknesses of black people for personal gain. Garvey is the only leader post-slavery to build a mass movement, and he did not have to exploit any religion to do it. Everybody else exploited religion in order to do what? Control the mind of black people, mostly for money.
Thank you.
All right. That was nice. That was good.
Oh, and real quick on the spirituality tip, and again, much respect to the Muslims and Christians, because as a Pan-Africanist, we don't believe in dictating your spiritual beliefs. We believe in freedom of religious worship. Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, was a Christian. El Hajj Malik El Shabazz Malcolm X was a Muslim. J. Rabbi Arnold Ford, who was the music director for the Honorable Marcus Garvey, he was a Hebrew. But they were all Pan-Africanists. So we believe in freedom of religion. I don't care what you pray to. I don't care how you pray, as long as you ain't got a snow bunny Christ. Now, if you got a snow bunny Christ, then we got to have a conversation, because you're pushing white supremacy through imagery. You understand me?
Yeah.
But you can pray to the trash can, pray to the floor, pray to the rats and the roaches. I don't give a damn how you pray. I don't care how you eat. I'm only concerned with how you think. The revolutionary is concerned with how you think. As black people, we get caught up in things that are totally irrelevant towards our emancipation. So what, you a Christian? So what, you a Muslim? Why does that stop me from working with you? Prayer ain't why we suffer. We suffer because we are African. And I believe until we inject the divinity of blackness back into black religion will never be useful for black people. Because we have allowed outsiders to force us to cut out the divinity of blackness from our religion. So when somebody says, what color is Jesus? You say it don't matter. Why don't it matter? If God made Jesus an African, if Jesus was blue, black, purple with a nappy head like mine, how can it not matter what his color was? But you go to any black church, the first thing they tell you, his color don't matter. If he was white, it would matter. If he was Chinese, it would matter. If he was a European Jew, it would matter. But because he was black, all of a sudden it don't matter. And by disqualifying your melanin from the religious equation, your religious equation loses all of its power. There's no divinity in any religion that does not honor the God chemical of melanin in African people, because it is the black skin of the African that contains the molecule that allows us to reach God consciousness. The blackness is the missing element in our religious worship.
All right, Umar. All right. I want to ask a question, right? We all kings and queens, right? We all from back, right? How comes every race is ahead of us right now? Like in infrastructure and wealth and...
Because you were deliberately held back. Colonization is still relevant today because it pigeonholed you and allowed every other group to get a head start over you. Slavery is still relevant today because it pigeonholed you and allowed every other group to get a head start. This is why when you talk about issues of inequality, disproportionality, racism, and bias, the U.S. government, the white power structure, never wants to bring up slavery. This is why they want slavery cut. Stop talking about slavery. You know why? Because if you really want to talk about the source of black-white inequality, you have to go to slavery. You want to talk about the source of police killings in the black community. You got to go back to the slave patrols, which were the original police, keeping Negroes on the plantation and making sure they didn't run away from it. That's the original police force. Every problem we have in America, every problem we have in the Caribbean, every problem we have in Africa, Central and South America, Canada, the UK, throughout Europe and Australia, originated in slavery and colonization. But the white man doesn't like to go beyond 50 years. If you notice, his conversations are always about what's happening now. He never ties it to history. Because if you tie your problems to history, he's the cause of all your problems.
Yes.
So they'll talk about brothers selling drugs. They'll talk about black men killing each other. But what about the fact that the Irish used to kill each other? The Jews used to kill each other. You understand me? The Italians used to kill each other until the white man did what? He gave the Jews the civil service government jobs in the city centers. He gave the Italians the fire departments in the city centers, black community, and he gave the Irish the police department.
Yeah.
He gave them an economic stimulus package to come into our neighborhood and kick our ass and let our homes burn down and take all the government jobs. And that's how the Jews, the Irish, and the Italians was able to stop gang banging and live a decent middle-class white life.
Yeah, damn.
All we did was step into the underworld that the Jews, Irish, and Italians left us.
Yes.
And this is why people have to know their political history, because these white folks act like you caused them problems. Even with ghettos, the Federal Housing Authority created the ghettos. They created the damn ghettos. They gave white people loans to move out into the suburb. Poor white people were able to escape to the suburbs on an FHA loan. When you tried to get one, you wanted to go to the suburbs too. They told you, no, you ain't got the credit. You ain't qualified. So then you said, well, let me buy a piece of Miami. I want to buy a piece of Miami. I want to buy this abandoned home on my block. And do you know what they say? Unfortunately, we can't finance dilapidated property. So you're not going to help me get a home in the suburb, and you ain't going to let me own nothing in the ghetto. And this is how they protected the ghetto for gentrification. That's why when you look around America, black people are being pushed out their own neighborhood very easy. Because when white flight came to the inner cities, white people left, but they never absolved their control of the real estate.
Yeah.
Most black people are squatters and renters, not owners. And the government deliberately kept it that way. So in the year 2000, when former President George W. Bush decided that this would be the century of gentrification, we couldn't even fight back against it because we didn't own anything. Every problem black people got was introduced by the white power structure, but it is our responsibility to solve it. Going back to your earlier question, education and economics. How do you begin to fix this? Education and economics. We are $2 trillion people. We're the richest group of blacks on earth in terms of income. Black America. 50 million of us, approximately, and we're the richest group of blacks in the world. But you can't show me a black Wall Street nowhere. There used to be a black Wall Street in Miami, as a matter of fact.
But you think
Liberty City.
You think the government will make that happen again?
It ain't up to the government. It's up to us. And one of the things I want black people to do is to stop involving the government in our solution. Because if you bring the government to the table, it's not a solution. From a strictly Marcus Garvey Pan-Africanist perspective, all solutions must be black controlled.
Yes.
If your enemy is required to participate in your solution,
it's dead. It ain't gonna work.
It's not a solution.
Yes.
And that's why when we talk about reparations,
I was just gonna ask you about that.
I support reparations. But what I don't support is black people sitting around waiting for the government to write you a check while you continue to spend $2 billion on Air Jordans a year, $4 billion on liquor a year, $1 billion on McDonald's a year, $800 million on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork, $10 million on grits.
The grits.
So with that type of money, why we don't have a black Wall Street nowhere in black America? Right now. 50 million Africans, 50 states. 50 million Africans, 50 states. Nowhere in this country can you go, and I've been just about everywhere, where we own the bank, the school, the hospital, the supermarket. Supermarket to feed the people, bank to invest in the people, school to teach the people, and supermarket to feed the people.
All right, yeah, so okay, reparations, right? That's a fact. I like that.
Fact.
Reparations, right? You said it's not in money, you just said a while ago. What's a good way then we should get in payment, or a good way that we could help ourselves in the long run, 100, 200, forever?
I'm not against reparations being on the restitution list. Cash.
Oh.
If you want cash on the restitution list, put it on there. Don't make it the priority. In other words, it could be number 20. It can't be number one. If money is the most important thing on your reparations list,
that shit dead wrong already.
It's dead wrong already because money runs out.
Yeah.
And the reason money can't be first is the benefit of our slavery to America will never expire. As long as there is an America, they benefited from your blood. It never runs out. You feel me?
Never.
So whatever you get in exchange for that should equally never expire. Money expires. And if they give every black person $1 million, they can inflate the cost of money tomorrow.
I like that.
And now your $1 million is worth a $500,000.
Yeah,
in a week is worth $20,000.
I watched when you said that.
It's a trap.
I watched when you said that. Yep.
The white man, the government, is glad that black people are so thirsty for dollars. They love this shit. They love this ninja shit. They love it. Because they said, look at these thirsty niggas. They just want to buy some sneakers and some Gucci and some Louis. They're not thinking. Because guess what? Here's the question. If I give every black person in Miami $1 million, does that stop police brutality in Miami?
No.
That shit probably gonna go
Does
up.
that stop miseducation in Miami?
No.
Does that stop gentrification in Miami?
No.
No.
Nothing stops.
Now you might say, wait a minute, if I got $1 million, why doesn't that stop gentrification? I got $1 million. What's the cost of a nice house in Miami? I bet you it was more than $1 million.
Damn right.
But
So you're
that's-
you
that's
you see what I'm saying? So you're telling me 243 years of unpaid labor, the worst dehumanizing campaign in the history of man, the worst forced transmigration of a people ever in recorded history, and I can buy 2/3 of a house with it. That's my payment, 2/3 of a house, you see? So the point is, we have to look at what? Structural transformation. How do we change the structure of the economy? How do we change the structure of policing? How do we change the structure of educating? How do we change the structure of the society? Because if all they do is inject money, no problem has been solved. I'll give you an equivalent. Look at all the hundreds of millions of dollars they put in fair housing. Look at all the hundreds of millions of dollars they put in poverty. Look at all the hundreds of millions of dollars they put in police reform. Look at all the money they've already put on problem. Has any one of those problems been addressed yet? Now, they did manage, and I don't know if this was necessarily a good thing, but they did manage to pass a law, I don't know if this was federal or state, that will not hold rappers accountable for people who claim they were motivated to engage in crime by listening to their lyrics.
You know what I'm saying? Why you said you don't think that's a good thing that they... What?
Because we need responsibility.
Yes, okay.
And if you out here influencing our children to kill, steal, and rob to buy a whole bunch of useless European merchandise,
You should be held accountable.
then you should be held accountable for that.
like that.
Change the content of your damn lyrics, ninja.
Nice.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because let us
I'm
be
right with
honest.
you.
Let us be absolutely honest. Hip hop turned 50 years old this year. Can somebody please tell me what has been the systemic benefit of hip hop to the black community? Give me one thing that made the black community better as a result of hip hop existing.
Kind of fuck it up.
Yeah, kind of messed up things if you ask me.
I couldn't, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't give you nothing.
Dr. Umar.
Gangster rap is a cancer.
Yeah.
It's a cancer. And the problem with these rappers is they hypocritically make a living off of preaching death and destruction, and then turn around and give out a few turkeys on Thanksgiving and shit. And we supposed to forget that you out here making millions of dollars pushing death, but because you gave a few book bags out, a few pair of sneakers, some old dusty turkeys, we supposed to forget the fact that you make a living pushing death.
All right, so what if they did more for the community? Like try to open schools and stuff.
I want to see that. I want to see that. Let me
Yeah.
see it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Dr. Umar, right?
You'll change
And
it.
let me be clear. Do more means
Yes.
you're going to build a school, independent, not charter, that's state. You're going to build a bank, not 51% black ownership, 100%
100%.
black ownership.
Yeah.
You're going to build a hospital. You're going to build a supermarket, right? You're going to build manufacturing or distribution. Those are the 5 major industries. So that's what we're talking about. Not no barbershops. Real shit. Okay?
Yeah, gotcha.
Because y'all gonna let one of these Negroes go get a barbershop and say, look, he opened up a barbershop. That don't mean shit to me.
All right.
Okay? That ain't shit.
Gotcha.
Okay? So that's the 5 institutions. Now let's look at the problems. Attack mass incarceration from the root. Attack miseducation from the root. Attack gentrification from the root. Attack police genocide from the root. Attack economic apartheid from the root. Here's 5 institutions. Here's 6 problems. I want y'all rappers to deal with any one of them, because right now, ain't one of them dealing with any of those in an aggressive, serious, and systemic way. Not one of them. All these black billionaires we got. Not one of them is building an institution for the black community.
All right, Dr. Umar, I got a next question right here. It kind of puzzled me, right? I think like last year I was watching the news, or I seen it came on my phone or something. In California, is a family got some land stolen from them back in the days. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's Huntington Beach, one of them places in California, right? Mm-hmm. But the land got returned back to the family. How come so much stolen lands were stolen from other black families but never returned? And that family got their land back after all them years. What was so special about that family?
I just think they stuck with it. But the mistake that they made was they sold the land right back after they got it.
Yeah, they sold it back.
For real?
Yeah, they sold it back. I think for like $240.
For much less than what it's worth. Much less than what it's worth.
After they got it back last year?
They sold it back.
They sold it right back.
Yeah, they sold it right back.
It's all over the news.
See, Umar, niggas don't be one.
Ninjas,
brother. Ninjas don't be one.
But you see that lady? You see the old lady that made them build the mall around her house?
Nah.
It's an old lady. I think she in Seattle. She had a house there from over 50 years. They was trying to pay her $1 million for her to knock her house down and move. She did not move.
Was she black?
It's a black lady.
Powerful.
It's a mall.
Powerful.
They built a mall around her house. Her house is right stuck in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Powerful.
And when she left,
she didn't leave yet. Right?
When she died, she wrote the will to the guy that was coming to the house every day, and he left.
Sell it to
and he left her like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna leave you there. I ain't gonna tell you, break it down. And when she was leaving, when she died, she gave the house to the guy, stranger.
Wow.
Yeah. But the question, you didn't answer my question though. You said they never gave up. They never gave up on the land.
Right. One of the things that should be included in our reparations package.
Yeah.
A return of all the land that was stolen.
Yeah.
So that means we have to put together a team of attorneys, a team of realtors, right, to investigate, to go and look back. There needs to be a tribunal. Any black person who even heard that they family lost land through theft or fear, right? There needs to be a tribunal, a research team, a research project to go and find all this land that was stolen, right? And then include all that land in the restitution package. Because if you give us back all the land that y'all stole, we probably don't need no more. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's how much land black people owned in this country. A lot of us were lynched because we owned more land than the white neighbors, you see. So we have to go and get all that land back. We definitely need it now because you got so many black people who can't afford mortgage, tax, or rent that are on the street. So we need them hundreds of thousands of acres now more than ever before because we're dealing with the highest black homelessness rate since the 60s.
Highest since the 60s?
Highest since the 60s because of gentrification. And this is why the black politician is such a disappointment. Black politicians from federal to state to local, they knew that white people were coming back to the ghetto. They knew it because city planning dictates that 10 years beforehand that you're coming to take Liberty City, Miami back. You know at least a decade, right? Yeah. Why didn't they tell us? I know you're cowards. I know you're not gonna fight. I know you in office to stack your pockets, not to save black people. But the least thing you could have did was say, listen, y'all, white folks coming to take Liberty City back.
Yeah, they coming.
Buy everything you can, pay off your taxes, don't sell, they coming. They didn't even give us a heads up that them devils was coming back to take our neighborhood. And that's why I don't respect black politicians. I only vote for a black politician if they are an independent candidate. If you are a Democrat, I will never vote for you. Republican, Green Party, I'm not voting. You know why? Because if you're not an independent candidate, you don't have an independent mind. You don't have an independent thought. You don't have independent goals, and you don't have independent money.
Yeah, you
see that? You are a slave.
Yeah.
You're going to do whatever
say.
Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden or Donald Trump tell you to do. And at this stage in our journey in this country, we cannot afford to still be getting suckered out by Negro slaves posing as community leaders. If you're not independent, I will not vote for you.
How you feel about Dwayne Wade and his kid and his son?
I'm gonna say this, and I want to be respectful.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
All due respect to Dwayne Wade and his wife, what they did to his son was a spiritual tragedy. to allow a child to permanently transform his gender away from the masculine expression of the divine to the feminine, artificially feminine expression of the divine was an absolute tragedy of black consciousness and culture. My doctorate is in psychology. My specialty is children. What's the first thing they teach you in child development? Children don't know who they are. Children don't know what they want. A child hasn't made up their mind yet. A child is still searching. So if a child don't know who they are, how are you gonna let a 12-year-old tell you? I want to spend the rest of my life as a woman, and I know I want to do this at 12. That goes against white psychology. Forget African psychology. That goes against white psychology. But notice whenever the government has an agenda, they throw science out the window. They muzzle everybody on it, and they say, children can now decide if they want to be men or women while they're still children. See, here's the thing that we need to understand. The reason America is pushing gay sex, same sex.
Why? Why is that? They pushing it so hard all over.
Transgenderism, population control.
Yeah, reproduction.
Simple.
Yes.
Confuse black boys, confuse black girls as to who they are. But it's not enough to just turn them into homosexuals and lesbians. That's not enough. You know why? A lesbian can still get pregnant when she's ready. A homosexual can still make a baby when he's ready. So homosexuality and lesbianism was never the goal. Transgenderism was the goal. You know why? If I can convince your child to get rid of their natural anatomy,
Oh man.
he'll never get nobody pregnant.
Damn.
She'll never be able to carry a child. You see that? Homosexuality and lesbianism leaves the door open. You
Yes,
can go
you can
back.
still, yes.
Right? But if I can get you to transgenderize yourself,
was
look
strong.
at the state of California. California said, the first state, children in California can have sexual replacement surgery as children.
Seen it.
They don't even have to be an adult. A child. So let me understand. You're not old enough to carry a gun. You're not old enough to vote.
Drink
You're not
liquor.
old enough to drive.
Yeah.
But you old enough to know that I want to cut off my penis and replace it with an artificial vagina. And this is why we got to know who we are as African people. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't push hate. I love all black people. I love the gays, the homosexuals, everybody. But I agree. I reserve the right to disagree with anything that poses a survival risk to the black family.
people,
You understand me? So I don't hate no homosexual. I've done therapy with homosexuals. But I don't agree with you, my brother, because your lifestyle is dangerous. Only 1 out of every 4 black women gets married in this country. 1 out of 4. If you homosexualize all the boys in Miami, and you only got 1 woman getting married out of 4, in 10 years, it'll be 1 out of 40.
Yeah.
1 out of 40, that's genocide. That's why they're pushing this crap to reduce the numbers. Now, the problem that the white power structure has, when you carry out a social agenda, you can't control who gets affected. So the white kids are also turning this out, right? That's why the white man losing his numbers.
Yeah.
That's why his numbers are dropping in 25 states. That's why the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. That's why Roe versus Wade was overturned.
The abortion thing?
They need white life. Hell yeah. So they had to make it more difficult for you to get an abortion because white people got to get their numbers back up. I wouldn't be surprised if they overturned gay marriage. I wouldn't be surprised because right now the white man is looking at his numbers. Right now, globally, white people, not just America, globally, white people are projected to be about 6% of the planet in 20 years.
Yeah, but I'm saying, Dr. Umar, you don't feel like they already had
6%.
You don't feel like they had all those numbers already, analysis already?
They did. They did.
They messed up?
They did. But here's the thing. The white man has always been a numerical minority, but he's never been this low before. You follow? And whenever he was a numerical minority, he always did what? Recruited from the oppressed to maintain his system. So the house Negro was always the guard dog for the white power structure. Even though he's got enough black people he can count on, he don't want to count on you because he's trying to get rid of you. He needs white people to be in those positions, not Negroes that he can't always trust. You feel me? Because he never knows when the African Holy Ghost gonna get a hold of your ass and wake you up and you start fighting for the people. You feel me what I'm saying? He don't know when that switch, because that even though the coon switch could come on, the conscious switch could come on. So he'd rather have organically white folks. But this whole transgender thing with the kids started by Barack Obama. See, let me say this. I can't wait to read the book that somebody writes talking about how everything we're going through right now was initiated or caused directly or indirectly by Barack Hussein Obama. And it ain't Obama's fault, because Obama never said he was going to do nothing for black people. In his defense, Barack Obama never ever said, I'm going to do anything for black people. When Jesse Jackson ran for president, 84, 88, he said, I'm going to have a black agenda. Al Sharpton ran for president, I'm going to have a black agenda. Shirley Chisholm ran for president, I'm going to have a black agenda. Barack Obama never said he would have a black agenda, so I can't fault him aside from being a coon. The problem is, we projected onto him this messianic consciousness that he never ascribed. But Barack Obama took everything black people fought and died for and gave it to every other so-called minority group. And now every group is more powerful than black folks. That's not Donald Trump's work. That's not Joe Biden's work. That's Barack Obama's work. Before Barack Obama gets elected, you are the priority minority. The government wasn't doing nothing for you, but they had to address your issues. Whether they were for it, whether they were against it, you couldn't ignore black people. Every president until Obama had to make a stand on where they stood regarding the black agenda. Barack Obama changed the game. He was the first president in American history black people asked to do absolutely nothing. When he gets out of office, Trump takes over, and all of a sudden, Al Sharpton, who met with Barack Obama more than any black leader ever met with a president in history. Dr. King didn't meet with Kennedy and Lyndon Baines Johnson as much as Al Sharpton met with Obama, but Al Sharpton didn't deliver a single tangible good to the black community from all those meetings with Obama. Not nothing. And so when Trump gets in office, black people say, well, Donald Trump, you gotta be accountable. And Donald Trump looked at us like we was crazy. You just had a black man in the White House for 8 years. Ain't did shit for none of you. Ain't do a damn thing, and y'all celebrated him. So because I'm white, I got to do for you. If Obama don't have to do shit for black people, I don't have to do it either. And that's Joe. Why you think Joe Biden ignoring black folks? Why you think Joe Biden gave the Asians an anti-Asian hate? He gave the Native Americans an anti-crime bill. He giving Ukrainians billions of dollars, Afghanis billions of dollars. He taking care of LGBT. Joe Biden said transgenderism is the #1 civil rights issue of the decade, and black people still voted him in office. Joe Biden was Obama's vice president. Joe Biden saw how black people worshiped the man who had no agenda for them. If Obama don't have to do nothing for black people, I damn sure ain't got to do it. You think I'm gonna mess up my relationship with the Democratic Party for you ninjas? Y'all didn't make Obama mess up his relationship with the Democratic Party for y'all, so I don't either. By giving Obama a pass, we created a very dangerous precedent in this country where no future president has to be concerned about black people.
How do you feel about things? Governor DeSantis down here in Florida, whitewashing the history.
He's a racist.
No more.
And that whole thing about
no more slavery.
He wants to put out. He doesn't want the African American AP Studies course in
the schools and stuff like that, right?
Because he said it includes transgender content. I agree with him that I don't want the transgender content in there. Talking about black people's contribution to America ain't got a damn thing to do with gay sex and queer theory. That's black people being weak and allowing other people's agendas to infiltrate ours. Okay, wasn't no damn black LGBTs picking no damn cotton with no rainbow flag in their pocket. Okay, so I agree with him on that. But here's where he's being disingenuous. Governor DeSantis, you didn't have to kick out the whole program. You could have just told them to amend and remove all the LGBTQ content out the program. You follow me? Why did you trash the course? All you had to do was demand that they amend the gay sections out of it. You know why he trashed the course? Because he don't want the gay studies and he don't want the black studies. You follow what I'm saying? He's just using the gay thing as a justification.
To get the other
if I care about black children, but I don't support same sex, I'll just cut the same sex out. He want to trash the whole thing because he don't want either one of them in there.
Okay.
And it's illegal. That's why I'm glad Benjamin Crump decided to sue. And I'm not a big fan of Benjamin Crump because he just run around getting death checks for people killed by the police, but he never fights for no change. So Benjamin Crump is like the new age Al Sharpton with a law degree. But I do appreciate the fact that Benjamin Crump is deciding to sue because you cannot discriminate in publicly funded programs. Public school is a what? Publicly funded program.
Yeah.
If you got German AP class and a Latin AP class, you understand, a Russian AP class and a Chinese AP class, you got to have a black one too. You cannot discriminate in publicly funded programs, so I'm glad Benjamin Crump is going to sue him for that. He won't be able to continue. He should not be able to continue with that. You cannot discriminate in publicly funded programs.
How you feel about the Memphis situation with those police officers?
The Memphis situation, I'm glad they finally relieved those EMTs of their job, but they should have been charged. They relieved the white cop who was involved, but he's not being charged. So here we got white privilege. You understand me? So I take issue with the white privilege. As far as the blacks involved, they need the worst sentence possible. They had no business killing that man. Somebody sent me a clip today that said one of the officers who beat Tyree, rest in peace, Tyree might have possibly been dating his ex, his baby mama. What? And they said that while he was beating Tyree down on the ground, he took a picture of Tyree and texted it to your baby mom. Like, here go your boyfriend, look at his ass now. So are you telling me that man lost his life over some vagina?
Yeah.
That ain't even yours no more? You see, here's the issue. I'm very, very concerned about putting powerless people in positions of power. I don't want to see a powerless white man in a position of power, no more than I want to see a powerless black man in a position of power, because people who ain't used to having power always abuse it when they get it. The worst thing you can do is take a black man who's never gotten respect in American society, never had no authority, put a blue suit and a badge on his ass and deputize him to go amongst his own community administering law. Them 4 ninjas are proof that you cannot give powerless people power unless you first train them in the art of it, because they always abuse it. Now, that's not to say I'm against black people being police. I want black police. I want black FBI. I want black CIA. I want black Homeland Security. Do you know why? Because I need them to infiltrate and then bring back to us the agenda of the power structure so we can be prepared. If we ain't got no black cops, we don't know what the police up to. If we ain't got no blacks in the FBI, we don't know what the hell the FBI up to. So I want blacks in all of these anti-black organizations so they can play spook who sat by the door. But if you're gonna join them and then turn into a full-blooded coon, then it's best your ass don't get the job at all.
That's a fact.
Serve the people or stay out of the white infrastructure.
Nah, that's a fact. I seen the other day, I don't know if you seen the other day, the football player that played for the Florida Gators.
What happened?
He was on his Instagram and he was rapping some rap lyrics.
A white boy. Quarterback.
White boy.
The one who lost a scholarship because of it.
And the HBCU.
And then Albany State picked him up.
Yeah. How
And then the president of Albany State rescinded the scholarship. He said he wasn't aware of that. I don't believe him. I believe he was aware. But once he got the black backlash, he popped out. But now they're saying another HBCU has given him another scholarship. They said he tweeted that he got another scholarship from a second HBCU and a couple PWIs. So we got to see what happens. We got to see what happens.
How you feel about that though? Like,
I don't support it. Nobody should be using the N-word, not even us. It is the worst word ever used to describe any people. It represents inhumanity. It represents disrespect. It represents racial inferiority. Everything that white people have ever said about us is characterized by that word. Nobody should be using it. And that's another strike against the hip hop community, because they, more than any other sector in American society, has popularized the use of the N-word. And mind you, hip hop is the most influential genre of music in the world right now. So if hip hop is the most influential genre of music in the world right now, and they're popularizing the N-word, do you know what that means? They're making it safe for the entire world of non-black people to use the N-word. That's why we got teachers fighting kids calling them the N-word, because we've made non-black so comfortable with it by making people think it's okay to use it. It's never okay to use that word. And we're the only people, proof of your post-traumatic slavery disease. This is proof of your internalized racism. We're the only race of people who have ever fought for the right to use a racially derogatory term as a form of endearment in conversation with each other.
I was just gonna ask.
European Jews never use that word to refer to one another in endearing terms. Latinos never use that word to refer to each other in endearing terms. Arabs never use that word to refer to each other. Irish never use that word. Italians never use that word. You have never seen another group use the word that was used to dehumanize and oppress them as a term of endearment with one another. You know why we still fight to be called ends? Because in our subconscious, we still believe we are ninjas. You could take the slave out of slavery, but until the slave takes the slavery out of himself, he'll never be free.
Damn.
Black people suffer from internalized racism more now than we ever have in 400 years of being here. And I believe that this generation of Africans is the worst generation we've produced on American soil. You can't show me another generation of blacks. So I'm counting from 1619. And of course, we were here before as Africans, but under European domination, 1619, you're talking about 403 years. Okay, that's about 20 generations of black people. 20 generations. From the year 2000 to the year 2023, that's a generation, right? You can't show me another generation this selfish, irresponsible, disorganized, self-hating, and embarrassing than what the hell we put out over the past 23 years. We are an insult to our ancestors. And they're not going to help us until we get our act together. And God is not going to help us until we get our act together. In order for black people to activate God consciousness, in order for us to bring the divine into our affairs, in order to help us, we have to become one. Mm-hmm. We talk about one God, but God only operates in oneness. So until black people come together, all of us, not just in America, but globally as one people. That means the Afro-Cuban, the Afro-Puerto Rican, the Afro-Dominican, the African in Florida, the Jamaican African, the Bahamian African, the Texas African, the Nigerian African, the London African. Until we stand together as one, God will not come into our affairs. We want God to free us so we can be a bunch of chocolate-covered white people. It's not going to happen. You have to change the way you think. You got to change the way you administer justice. You got to change the way you build family. You got to change the way you love your woman, the way our sisters love their men. We have to change everything we do because we are psychologically Europeans. And until we become Africans, we'll never get the blessing of the Most High.
I will agree with that.
What you're saying, I agree. Mm-hmm. But do you believe that the trans-Saharan slave trade that took place before the transatlantic slave trade, did that have an impact on us with the European mindset?
Now, when you say trans-Saharan, are you speaking of the Arab slave trade?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
Okay, without question. Now, the difference between the Arab slave trade and the European slave trade is the Arab slave trade never ended. The Arab slave trade is going on right now. And I would personally fault many African-American Sunni Orthodox Muslim leaders for hiding the Arab slave trade under the umbrella of their religion. One of the reasons I left the masjid, because I was raised Muslim, Sunni Orthodox Islam. One of the reasons I had to abdicate from the masjid is there was too much cultural imitation going on. I'm not an Arab. And black people didn't leave the white man's Christianity to go to the Arab's Islam. Now, Muhammad ibn Abdullah was a blue, black, purple man, just like Jesus, son of Joseph and Mary. You understand? So we don't have to imitate Arabs. But when you don't know who you are, you automatically pick up somebody else's culture. And every religion was incubated in a culture. So Islam was incubated in Arab culture. Although the Arabs of that day were black men who evolved into pale and yellow, still we sucked up the culture more than the religion. And there's a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad who said, give them religion, don't take away their culture. Because he understood that my 23 years of being a prophet cannot compare to 200,000+ years of African culture.
Oh, yeah.
Muhammad was only with you 23 years. Jesus was with you 3. So I'm going to throw out hundreds of thousands of years of African culture for 3 years of Jesus and 23 years of Muhammad, I got to be insane. And my problem with the Muslim brothers and sisters who I love, I'll still go to the masjid and pray. I love them, but I cannot tolerate the Arab cultural imitation. Okay? There's no such thing as Muslim food. Show me Muslim food in the Quran. The Quran does not mention anything about no Muslim food. That's Arab food. See? And you're taking Arab culture and you're putting it in your religion and you're making it divine. And that's why I agree with Dr. Yusuf bin Yaqin, Garveyite scholar, ancestor now, grandmaster teacher, when he said, religion is the deification of culture. Religion is the deification of culture. When Leonardo da Vinci painted The Last Supper in 1482, 10 years before Columbus, that white Jesus still with us now. Still in the black church now. That white Jesus, that pale skin, blue-eyed, blonde hair, deified white people in the minds of Africans. It has deified us so much that most black churches will never get rid of that white Jesus, even though they know Jesus wasn't white. I spoke in Fort Lauderdale a couple years ago. There was a fundraiser for the Marcus Garvey Technical School in Kingston, Jamaica. I believe it's in Kingston. But the Marcus Garvey Technical School of Jamaica had a fundraiser and I keynoted, right? I met a brother there from Jamaica. He said, Dr. Umar, let me tell you a story. True story. He said, I belong to a church in Jamaica that has a white Jesus. He said, I went out and got a black artist to paint the most beautiful black Christ you can ever see in your life. I told the pastor, we got a black Jesus now. You can get rid of that. And the black pastor in Jamaica told him that painting will never be hung in here. This is the Jesus that we will serve. When your enemy becomes your deity, when your deity and your enemy are one in the same and you are comfortable with that, you deserve to be a slave.
Yeah.
You deserve to be a slave. I will never worship God in the image of another people. And the irony of it is every religious teacher in ancient time came in our skin. Buddha looked like me. Krishna looked like me. Moses, Muhammad, Jesus, they was all black, but we are so comfortable and content worshiping him in the image of our oppressor. And if you say Jesus should be black, they'll call you a racist.
Yeah, they would.
And you know, the arguments I have with my friends, like my church friends, they tell me that, Sean, you tripping, man. Black, it don't matter if he black. It don't matter if his name Jesus. That don't matter.
Exactly. It only doesn't matter when it comes to black. See, we're not relevant. And we've been conditioned to believe we're not relevant. We're not important. We're not worthy of nothing. So if Jesus was black, let's just drop that conversation because blackness is nothing to be proud of. A lot of this has to do with the black church because the black church has multiculturalized us out of racial consciousness. And in being multiculturalized out of racial consciousness, we have been multiculturalized out of our racial divinity. You notice when black people win sports, I remember when Tony Dungy won the Super Bowl. First black coach to win a Super Bowl. They asked him, are you proud to be the first black man? Oh, I don't think about that stuff. When a white man, when a Jewish man win, they'll tell, yes, this for Israel. You follow me? Yeah. This for Iran, this for Iraq, this for America. But when a black man wins something, oh, nah, it never even crossed my mind being the first black. They're gonna ask Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts the same thing. Y'all the first starting quarterbacks on both sides of the ball in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
Are you proud? Nah. Well, Mahomes got a snow bunny anyway, right? No. You know what I mean? We've been taught to dismiss the relevance of our blackness, and we got to put it back. But one of the big reasons why we can't put it back is because we work for white people. How are you going to talk about being proud to be black and white people paying your bills? There is no psychological freedom without economic freedom. If you ain't economically free, you ain't psychologically free. That's why every major leader we had was self-employed. Garvey was self-employed. Honorable Elijah Muhammad was self-employed. Frederick Douglass was self-employed. Dr. King, Malcolm. You can't work for white people and fight for black people. That's why we don't have no real leaders in America because most of them are taking money. Al Sharpton, his organization gets money from all kind of white organizations. Jesse Jackson, Rainbow Coalition, gets money from all kind of white organizations. The NAACP, the Urban League, get money from all kind of white organizations. That's why they can't fight for you. The hand that pays is the hand that rules. And that's why in the Garvey movement, as Pan-Africanists, we don't believe in taking money from anybody else. That's why with the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, it was all African money. No grants, no government loans. We're the first school in American history to be built exclusively by the African diaspora. And we don't teach hate. We don't hate nobody. But in order for black people to rise, you're gonna have to piss a lot of people off because too many people are able to thrive because of your oppression. And see, this is why multiculturalism is such a trap because nobody can afford for the black man and woman to rise. The Arab can't afford for you to rise. White man can't afford for you to rise. East Indian can't afford for you to rise. The China man can't afford for you to rise. If the black man rises, that means you take control of Africa's resources. If you take control of Africa's resources, you automatically become the world superpower overnight. Whoever rules Africa rules the world. This is why they killed Gaddafi. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Gaddafi was sincere in what he was doing. I think he wanted to be the emperor of Africa. I don't think his ambitions were honest, but I still appreciated what Gaddafi did. He was going to spearhead the creation of a Central African bank that was going to be backed by the resources of the continent. With Africa being the most minerally rich continent in the world, if you create a currency, and that currency is valued based on the resources. Can the American dollar compete with the African dollar? Can the British dollar compete with can the Russian dollar? Can the Chinese dollar? That would have made Africa a superpower overnight, and Gaddafi had to die. And who did they use to kill him? The black president.
Yeah.
His own people.
Oh, Barack
Obama.
Barack Obama. Yeah. I see you speak. So the school, far as your school, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is it going to be like a curriculum you're going to have for parents to follow, like if they ain't able to send their kids to your school? Because where you say it's in Delaware?
It's in Wilmington, Delaware. So
right?
We are at the border of southern PA, southern New Jersey, northern Maryland. We're 10 minutes from PA, 10 minutes from Jersey, 10 minutes from Maryland. Of course, we're in Delaware. So we'll be the only independent school to service students from 4 states consecutively. But to your question, we do hope to have a virtual platform within a couple of years. So if your son is in Miami, and by that time your daughter too, because we will have the Anna Douglas Amy Garvey Princess Academy. If your children are in Miami, you want them to access the curriculum, they'll be able to do it through virtual.
Yeah,
just log in and be in the class. You feel me?
Exactly.
So they're not being taught by the computer, they're simply in the class by way of video stream.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Got you.
But, from building the school and doing the school, have you had any help? No black people, no big celebrities, none of these?
Nah, I haven't gotten a single black celebrity donation. I know a lot of black celebrities. I talked to them on the phone. They called me up. I know a lot of your favorite people. They support me, but they never donated. And I don't ask them because I shouldn't have to.
Nah, you shouldn't.
You know what I mean?
Why you think they don't? What you
Fear.
Fear. Yeah, I was gonna say you think they scared. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
They're scared of their name being mentioned with mine.
Yeah.
And they're also selfish. And what I mean by that is black celebrities don't really do nothing for the black community anyway, except give out turkeys and dedicate basketball courts, right? So if they were to significantly help me, they would want to brag about it. You feel me? And to help Dr. Umar, because I'm a political force, I'm not an entertainer, they would not be able to brag. In other words, he go $1 million for the school between me and you. You feel me?
I got you.
I can't get on TV and say, I gave the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy $1 million because now you're going to catch heat from the crackers.
Yeah.
They got to help me in silence.
Yeah.
That's the problem with them egotistical Negroes. You follow me? They got to be able to brag about it. They got to be able to, and because they won't be able to brag, they'd rather not give.
Damn.
But I don't mind it. You know why? I think it was divine design. I think it was divine design that we got the school up and running without no celebrity money. You know why?
Why?
If we would have did it with celebrity money, black people would still think what? We need celebrity money.
Yeah.
You feel me? Mm-hmm. So we've shown you don't need celebrity money. You don't need white money.
Facts.
All you need is Negro pennies.
Just do yourself. Yeah.
Which we should already know because every major black movement we've had in America was financed by black pennies. We got out of slavery through black pennies, civil rights, black pennies, Marcus Garvey, black pennies, Elijah Muhammad, black pennies, Noble Drew Ali, black pennies, Black Panther movement, black pennies, Black Power movement, Black Liberation Army, black pennies. Every major movement we've had was built by the bottom. It was never built from the top. And I would never want to trade places with them. You know why? Because having been around a lot of celebrities, One thing I've learned, they have all the money, but Dr. Umar has all the power. They could never say out of their mouth in public, probably nothing I've ever said out of my mouth in public. I've seen how enslaved they are by the money that they have. I've seen it. Black celebrities are not allowed to use their money to help their own people.
Black people, yeah.
All they can do is have fun. They're glorified plantation slaves, every last one. And I don't say that to disrespect them, but it's the truth. You are a glorified plantation slave, corporate commodity. Just like a slave 157 years ago, if you had any money, you could only use it to do what? Enjoy yourself. This is why these Negroes got 50 houses, 50 cars, 50 boats, 1,000, every pair of Air Jordan sneaker that ever was made. Why do you need every pair of Air Jordan sneaker that ever was made? Because you're not allowed to use your money to do nothing relevant for your community. Let me say this. Study white millionaires and compare them to black millionaires. Study white billionaires and compare them to black billionaires. You probably can't name me a single white billionaire who does not employ at least 5,000 to 10,000 of his own race. I'm gonna say that one more time. You can't name me a single white billionaire, Chinese billionaire, Arab billionaire who doesn't employ at least 5,000 to 10,000 of his own race. Now show me a black billionaire who employs 5,000 to 10,000 of his own race. You know why you can't? Because the white billionaire says that my success must automatically reciprocate to my people, or I will be rejected by my people. Do you understand me? Black billionaires, they only are concerned about themselves and their family, and they simply want all the other black people to worship their wealth. You feel me? So they'll come in a ghetto with a big truck and a car, right? So they can be worshiped by blacks, but they don't want to empower blacks. Black millionaires and billionaires do not systemically empower other black people. Black celebrities do not systemically empower other black celebrities. White people do it as a rule of thumb. We hardly if ever do it. Look at Oprah. No disrespect. The richest woman in the history of North America, black or white, Oprah Winfrey. The richest woman in the history of North America. Regardless of race, I don't think she employs 5,000 of her own people. Black money and white money do not behave the same. That's why you'll never find a filthy rich white man marry a poor white woman. You will never find a filthy rich white man marry a poor white woman. Never. But a filthy rich black man, his ass can't wait to get the brokest snow bunny in Liberty City and make her the mother of his kids.
Dr. Umar, I gotta ask you something, right? You don't be scared talking this shit right here,
It
man.
ain't
Like,
shit.
no, talking this game, giving this.
It's the gospel of Garveyism.
Sorry.
King Cold conscience.
Right. Here's what I would say to
They
that.
ain't never come to you before like, yo, here go 10 mil, man. Shut this.
I was told.
You ain't
I was approached by FBI agents, black ones, who cared about me. I've had 2 or 3 FBI agents who pulled me to the side. They came to my event and said, listen, you need to be careful. They're watching you. I work for the Bureau. You can't trust nobody. You can't trust the women you sleep with. You can't trust your family. They said, consider every device you got is bugged. Your phones, everything. Everywhere you go, they're watching you. I was told this multiple times by black FBI. So
I believe that.
Here's my thing. I believe it too, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, straight up.
Here's my thing.
Fuck 'em.
Because you can't care. I'm going to tell you why.
Why? Yeah.
I want you to go on YouTube and listen to some of Malcolm X's friends talk about Malcolm's last days. Listen to some of Dr. King's comrades talk about Dr. King's last days. What did they say about Malcolm and Doc? They said that they got so overwhelmed with the paranoia of being murdered that they felt they secretly wished to be dead. The fear of death became greater than death itself. That they felt that in those moments when they died,
They might have been dead.
they might have took a sigh of relief. Because every day you wake up, you don't know
about being,
exactly.
Yeah,
Is the bullet coming from here?
Yeah.
Is the bullet coming from here?
You can't
Are
kill.
they going to kill my children? Remember, they bombed Dr. King's house twice. You feel me? They bombed Malcolm's house the week before, right? So I don't ever want to get like that. I don't ever want to get like that. So for me, I understand the risks. I'm no Superman. I take my precautions as I need to. But my stability is in my relationship with Supreme Consciousness. This is why I'm Ifa devotee. So I practice the spiritual system of the Yoruba peoples of Nigeria. I'm all about African spirituality. It's what liberated Haiti. It's what's going to liberate us. So as far as I'm concerned, whenever the Lord is ready for me to come back home, I'm ready to go back home.
You ain't tripping off nothing.
I'm not tripping off nothing. And I don't want people around me tripping because here's one of the, I just had this conversation last night. I be getting these texts from ninjas, right? They be like, Dr. Umar, don't end up like Malcolm, don't end up like. Later for that shit, stop putting that shit around me.
Facts.
Because I'm not thinking about that. You understand me?
Yep.
I don't know how I leave this earth. None of us do. But I don't need you filling my atmosphere with all this fear. Don't end up like Malcolm. Don't end up like Fred Hampton. Keep your scary ass where you at. But I don't live my life under fear. Stop coming around me with all that fear talk.
Yes.
Because when I look at Biggie and Pac, and Pac my favorite rapper of all time, and I love Big too, but Pac was my favorite, I believe they played a small role in their own demise because they constantly thought about it,
talked about it,
and spoke on it. And every religion teaches that there is power in the tongue.
Yes.
In fact, in Yoruba culture, you know what we call it? Afo, ashe. Afo, word, ashe, power. We're taught, be careful what you articulate out of your mouth, because this throat chakra can activate those words and bring the thing that you don't want into existence. So we have to be very careful because as the Bible says, and I'm not a Christian, but there's truth in the Bible when it says life and death are in the power of the tongue. And I think that Pac and Big, like Malcolm and Martin, although I don't compare the latter two to the former two in any way, shape, form, or fashion, Pac and Big were not Malcolm and Martin at all.
Yeah, I get you, son.
I think all four of them inadvertently and unintentionally
spoke it into their life.
Spoke some of it. I'm not saying that's the reason they left.
Yeah.
I'm saying they gave it energy.
Yeah.
I'm not giving that shit no energy.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Umar, man, me and this ninja right there across the left of you right there. Me and this ninja argue all the time. It's ignorant. But you know what I mean? He takes Malcolm. I say, man, you can't take Malcolm without taking Martin, because I think Martin stood for a lot. Like, we wouldn't be living so freely if it wasn't for Martin. And he like, man, Martin, the agent, man. And
Nah, Martin wasn't the agent.
Yeah, I'm finna say it, man. Cause we be, sorry, this, that, and the third. I'm like, nah, man, Martin died, man. And I just see you talk about the Kremlin report. I tried to go research it, and I couldn't even find nothing. A Kremlin report. You said a month later he got...
Not Kremlin.
I got it wrong?
The President's Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders. Not Kremlin. What is the name of that guy? It'll come to me.
Sorry.
It'll come to me.
All right.
We need Malcolm and Martin. See, what a lot of people don't realize is that Malcolm and Martin agreed to disagree, and they were coming together.
Yeah.
Malcolm met with Coretta Scott King while Dr. King was locked up in the Birmingham jail.
Yes.
And they agreed to come together through Coretta.
Yeah, through Coretta, you're right.
Somebody told J. Edgar Hoover, and that's why Malcolm died on February 21st, because J. Edgar Hoover didn't want Malcolm and Martin to have another face-to-face meeting. Sam Cooke was murdered a few weeks before Malcolm, because Sam Cooke was going to finance Malcolm and Dr. King once they came together. So they got rid of King, they got rid of Malcolm, and they got rid of Sam Cooke and Malcolm first, and then they got rid of King. And the reason they got rid of King is after Malcolm dies, Dr. King goes to Jamaica and visits the grave of the most honorable Marcus Garvey and meets with the Garveyites in Jamaica. And they say that after Dr. King came back from Jamaica, he started sounding more like Marcus Garvey. And that's when the U.S. government said, whoa, because remember, he was all about social accommodation and segregation. When he came back from Jamaica, Dr. King said,
Black.
Economic revolution.
Yeah.
And then the white man said, time out. This ninja is trying to get us to redistribute the wealth of this country. He talking about a breadbasket campaign. He gonna bring poor black and poor white and poor Latino and poor everything and bring them to the US government and nobody's leaving. Tent City. Imagine every homeless person you know in DC, broke and hungry, and ain't leaving till they have a job and a home. Dr. King was setting up economic revolution and they killed him for it. And they manipulated him coming into Memphis on April the 3rd. They killed those 2 sanitation workers on purpose because they needed Dr. King to come to Memphis before he went to DC. Let me say this one more time. The Memphis protests was a distraction caused by the FBI. Remember 2 trash workers got killed in the truck? The FBI killed them on purpose. How do we know this? Dr. King's white attorney who sued the US government and won in court, proving that it was the government that killed Dr. King, not James Earl Ray. He uncovered the papers and the interviews by white folks in the Department of Justice, in the FBI, and the military who said the FBI killed those garbage men because they had to do something to get King to come back to Memphis. He could not go to DC first. And King, and it gets worse because guess what? Dr. King was originally reserved to stay at the Holiday Inn Hotel, White Hotel, right? Guess what happened? These woke ass ninjas started complaining why he's sleeping at the White Hotel. We got Divine Lorraine, we got a black hotel. How Dr. King, a black leader, sleeping at the White Hotel? So Dr. King said, switch it. And he died at the black hotel.
They said this is the perfect time for it to happen.
Yep.
So let me ask you a question.
And somebody from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference called the hotel and had Dr. King room switched from the basement to the 2nd floor. He was not on the 2nd floor. Somebody from Atlanta called the hotel in Memphis and said Dr. King would like to be upstairs. So there was agents operating all
man.
in
Agent
the
world.
SCLC.
Agent world,
But you can't be paranoid about the agents because there's always agents.
Yeah.
I think I know 3 of mine right now. No, I'm serious. I know 3 of mine. No, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious.
I believe you.
All right, my bad. Yeah,
I'm
Trust
dead
me.
serious.
No jokes.
But I'm not going to throw them away because if you know the agent, you good. It's when you don't
Know the agent, yeah.
See, I know mine. If I dismiss them, guess what happens? They send 3 new ones.
You don't even know what's
and I
going
might
on.
not know them.
Yes.
You feel me? The honey, that might be the honey I fall for.
Yeah.
Because remember, Huey Newton slept with the agent. Marion Barry got set up by the agent. We can go through black history. A lot of our leaders slept with women who set them up for the white power structure.
All right.
Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, was hooked on drugs by an FBI informant. He was sent to Afeni to hook her on drugs. So we know that they'll use our women against us, so we cannot let the coochie overrule the consciousness.
So you feel like it was an agent in Sam Cooke death?
Oh, hell yeah.
With the girl, with the
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
First of
I
all,
just
why would
watched it the
Sam
other
Cooke
day.
go to a hotel that sleazy?
Yeah.
The chick takes all his clothes out the room. That was to make sure he was defenseless. And then they say the black hotel clerk shot Sam Cooke, right? A single bullet. But his family said when they looked at the body at the autopsy, Sam Cooke looked like he got beat up with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
They said his neck was broken. His fingers was crushed. Head was crushed.
Especially back in them days. They tell you
Guess who else said the same thing? Whitney Houston's people. Yes. Whitney Houston had
Yeah, they say
scrapes,
thing was alive.
bruises. Yeah.
she
Her
fought for
nails
her
was
life.
cracked. Yeah. Whitney Houston fought.
What?
Yes.
I know that.
Oh, first made this up.
No, she was.
Her cousin got a hold
I
of
think I
her.
heard something the other day because they were saying that's why they was licking out on Ray J.
Yeah.
Because they say something about like Ray J opened the door or something like that.
Yeah, Ray J,
Yeah.
they said Ray J brought her the dope, allegedly.
So
But see, here's the question. Whitney Houston killers came into a hotel room, right?
Yeah.
That's a 5-star hotel, Hollywood Hilton, right?
Beverly Hills Hilton.
Can I ask you a question? Where the footage from the hallway? Where the footage from the hallway? Why we never saw the footage from the hallway? You know why? Because whoever had Whitney Houston murdered had enough power to make that footage disappear.
But kill Whitney for what though?
That's what I was gonna ask though. What she was fighting for?
I'm gonna tell you what I think she was fighting for.
Her
What
rights,
do
her
all
masters?
What do all entertainers do when they run out of money?
So they masters publishing.
What's the first thing they start looking at?
They publishing, they
They
masters.
publishing,
Yes.
their masters,
Yes.
and all the royalties
These-
that I never got.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
So
Whitney Houston broke the Beatles record.
Yes.
Whitney Houston broke Elvis's record. Whitney Houston is the only black artist ever, not even Michael Jackson, to have 3 certified diamond albums. I Will Always Love You is the highest selling female song in world history. You understand me? Is she broke?
facts.
I ain't never heard.
Whitney was going to order an audit on her publishing, her royalties, her masters. And there's somebody who couldn't afford that to happen. And that's why Whitney not here.
Yeah.
And isn't it ironic that Whitney Houston dies the same way that Jimi Hendrix dies? In a tub, in a hotel, allegedly from drugs. And we know why Jimi Hendrix was murdered, the greatest guitarist of all time, because Jimi Hendrix wanted to finance the Black Panther Party, but he didn't know that his agent, his manager, was an MI6 British intelligence agent.
What?
Damn.
Yo. Yeah, you some games.
They gonna have you mapped out.
And Prince was murdered because Prince didn't want to sell his unpublished music to Warner Brothers. And Michael Jackson was murdered because he didn't want to sell the Beatles catalog back to Sony Records.
What you want to ask for?
And R. Kelly went to jail because Sony Records wanted his catalog.
Yeah?
R. Kelly is not in jail for pedophilia, although that's wrong and he should be if he's guilty. But that ain't why he there.
Yeah.
White folks been knew he was doing what he was doing. R. Kelly
believe
didn't
that.
go to jail till R. Kelly start questioning control of his masters. Bill Cosby goes to jail because the second largest oil company in the world wanted to drill under his home in Massachusetts and he wouldn't let him. And the reason they brought up the lawsuit with the ugly old white women is to financially bankrupt Bill Cosby, so he got to sell the house and the oil company gets the oil.
You sold the house?
I don't know.
Damn, but
he out of jail though.
Yeah, jail. No, and he said he's going on tour. He said he's going on tour in the next couple months. So Bill's serious.
Shout out to Bill Cosby, North Philly. Shout out to Meek Millie, North Philly.
I want to ask you one question.
Kevin Hart.
Is brand Jamaica a problem? Because like every era, every genre, every level of blackness and Jamaica is mentioned or somebody from Jamaica. Because I have a theory, but it's a fact. But the rest of the world don't understand what I'm saying. They blame the music, they blame how we do business. I'm trying to tell them it's none of that. You're gonna be a problem operating the business when you are seen as the enemy. Now, Jamaica is the enemy to me, brand Jamaica in itself, not just the music or the minerals or
Jamaica on a whole.
just Jamaica on a whole. I think the major world, the first world countries have something about Jamaica that is a serious problem.
But are you saying that, why is it a problem?
I know, but I was just seeing where your mind was towards brand Jamaica.
You think Jamaican people are getting held back in every aspect because they're so outspoken, they're so revolutionary, they fight against everything. They have so much morals. So he's trying to say that he feel like the world has a ban on Jamaica. Like,
Oh, I agree with that.
Okay.
Are Jamaicans discriminated against?
Right.
In particular,
in every sector.
because of their unapologetically African posture. Yes.
Thank you very much. The content.
Absolutely.
What we stand for. Because I'm trying
Absolutely.
to tell people like I wasn't educated about apartheid or African National Congress or Bishop Tutu or Nelson Mandela or Winnie or President Botha on apartheid. I wasn't educated about that from school. I was educated about that from Jamaican artists singing about that situation. I have never heard about it in school. And I have like a vivid understanding of what was going on from artists in Jamaica like Brigadier Jerry Charlie Chaplin, Josie Whale, Jar Love, Stereograph, Sound System. That's the kind of content they were singing about.
Okay.
So it's said that those music helped to ignite the Nelson Mandela revolution and help him to become free.
Sure.
So I'm trying to tell people that it's not what's going on in Jamaica now. Jamaica has been seen as an enemy by the British, the Europeans, all of these people who enslave Africans because we are so far diagonally, based on what they calculate, we are so far away, and we are like fighting the struggle in a region that we are not even physically there.
And that's why I think the Chinese strategically chose Jamaica as one of their first islands of attack.
Conquer, right.
Because if we can conquer Jamaica, what are the other islands going to do? You follow me? If the Chinese can take Jamaica, they can take the whole Caribbean.
Do you know that we have the most churches in any close proximity, right?
Yeah.
So also, because the love, Africans in general have a attraction to spirituality. That's why it has been, what you call it, or infiltrated.
Which has been hijacked by religious opportunities.
And they gave us white Jesus. Jesus in general, because I think the name is wrong as well. Well, I know the name is wrong as well. So what they do is now give us that dying urge to be obedient to God or to that spirit. So what
and
they
to their particular God concept.
Right. So they gave us a spirit and an image, an illusion to follow. So that helped weaken our fighting ability.
Religion kills the revolutionary spirit.
So for me, my thought process is, if we don't get rid of religion, if we don't get rid of the curriculum, the education, and if we don't feed ourselves, then we're in problems. Because when I study food, because studying the educational part and the information and the history, you'll understand that the food you eat has a lot to do with how fierce you are, how coward you are, how brave you are, how fearful you are. Now, the food that Jamaica had originally are originally foods that are present in Africa. So that's why Jamaicans are very versed on using bush, this tea that, eating this, not eating that, and then they now infiltrate that with all European made good food.
GMO food.
So now I have a little money. I used to be broke, right? So I was broke, the regular thing was chicken, chips, rice, flour. So getting money, getting educated more. I wouldn't say educated, because education is not good. I was garnering information about nutrition. So I was introduced to funio, kamut, spelt, wild rice, all these foods that they say are nutritional and great. But then when I check it, they are all African foods. They're originated grains and beans from Africa. So when I'm in like Miami or Fort Lauderdale, I want to go to an upscale restaurant because I don't want to see everybody every day because I'm a popular person. Somebody's going to be, I watch this, I watch that, I want to talk about it. I'm trying to eat some food. So I go to places that are a little more expensive so I don't get the bothering, you know what I mean? And when I look at the food list, in the more expensive place like the Snow Bunny places, I'm seeing wild rice. I'm seeing wild rice on the menu. I'm seeing asparagus a lot. Like food that Africans are supposed to be consuming are on the menu in these places. But when I go to the black community,
ain't nowhere,
when I say, do you have wild rice? They're like, what are you talking about? I say, you have spelt flour? They don't know what I'm talking about. I go, I want some drink. I say, okay, can I get my tea with some agave? They're like, what is agave?
So what you feel like certain things they hide from us and they took it away and used it?
They definitely did that. Because if you are not healthy via nutrition, your spiritual connection is blocked as well. Your vision, you can't see, the ancestors don't know how to connect because your nerves are blocked. Because your nerves are like electrical wires were electric beams.
Well, on the foot before you make a man go,
I believe that.
I want to ask man some question.
No, I just wanted to say that one thing about the Jamaican. It's the boss, you know what I mean? I'm learning a lot.
No, but hold on, Dr. Umar, I want to ask you, what's up with the women nowadays, Dr. Umar? Why these women nowadays want to be so independent and they want to be their own boss and I don't need a man and
we have to take responsibility for that. Because the black woman has had to raise the children alone and hold down the community alone for quite a long time because of the war against black men. So we cannot expect our women to be submissive when they had a history of having to take care of the whole house, be the man and the woman by themselves. So I think we as black men can be somewhat disingenuous when we accuse black women of being too headstrong. She had to be in order to survive. And I think that if we want them to transform, to adopt a more feminine posture, because we would like that. But before she can do that, she has to be absolutely certain that we're going to hold her down. She has to be absolutely certain that we're not going to walk out on her, that when we commit to her, we're committing to her for good. Because sometimes it's best to stay in a struggle than to have somebody sell you a fairy tale of how they can make things better only to walk out on you. You understand? I wouldn't want us to do a Deion Sanders. You understand? Come there and get everybody hopes up and then walk out on them. And so, you know, I'm not in a rush to see my sisters change their attitude towards being independent until we as black men assure them that we are there for the long run. Because when she looks at all these black men dating out the race, she look at all the black men who want to be serial monogamous and players for the rest of their life, you know, I can't fault her from adopting that position, because being tough allowed her to raise them kids. Being tough allowed her to work them jobs. Being tough allowed her to hold down the community. Being tough allowed her to pay off for them college tuition for all those children. Being tough allowed her to make it without having a man she could depend on. I don't want her giving that up unless we're certain we can hold her down.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was valid.
Evidence of slave ships. So I just wanted to know your opinion. Do you believe that we really came here on slave ships, or do you believe that we were already here?
There were Africans already in America. There were African kings who wrote extensively about their journeys to America. So it's no myth that Africans were already in America. Yes, we were here well before the white man. Christopher Columbus described us to a T in his own journals. He said he saw black people who looked just like the ones he had seen in West Africa. Remember, Columbus was in West Africa first. He actually spent the week at one of the slave dungeons in Ghana. I forget if it was Elmina or Cape Coast. And it was while he was in Africa that he was given a map that showed him how to get over to the so-called New World. In Africa, they knew that there were three water currents. One takes you straight across to North America. Another one takes you to Central America and Brazil. And the bottom current takes you to the Caribbean islands. So he didn't discover. We told him how to get over here. You see, my issue with, now to your question about the slave ships, one of the first things that they did post-slavery was destroy all the relics of slavery. My family, I'm related to Frederick Douglass by blood. My family was owned by Colonel Lloyd of Maryland. The University of Maryland is actually excavating where the slave quarters once stood in the back of that house, which is still there. And it still looks pretty much like it did then. The slave quarters are no longer there. Does that mean they didn't have slaves? Of course not. They tore it down because it became a badge of shame and embarrassment. You follow? But when the University of Maryland excavated, they found relics of the enslaved Africans right there in the area where the barracks stood. Many of the slave ships were destroyed. But there is a project. Somebody sent it to me last week. They charted every single slave ship, almost every one. Every one. Hundreds of. They got the name. They went through the logs. Somebody went through the logs. They got the name of every ship, the date, where they deported from, where they went to in Africa, and where they offloaded the car. How many lived, how many died. So we even have the database now. We have the database of the slave ships, who they carried, the names of those that they brought, how many they brought, who died. So it's without question that we came over on ships. But were we here before? Absolutely. My issue is with these pretendian ninjas. I call them pretendians, not Indians, pretendians, who run around telling people that they never came from Africa. They originated in other words, they claim that the North or South American continent is a cradle of human civilization. That God originated man on North or South America. Well, show me the proof of that. There's 6 stages in modern man's evolution. And no, we don't come from monkeys, but we did evolve from a more primitive to a more modern, never a monkey, always a man. 6 stages of modern man. There's only one continent where you can find all 6 stages of modern man. Guess what continent that is? Africa. No other continent can you find all 6. In fact, in North America, you can only find one, Homo sapiens sapien. That's us, the most modern man. In Asia, you can find the last 2. Nowhere can you find all 6 except Africa. Do you know what that means? That means when we was in that first stage, we were still in Africa. Second stage, still in Africa.
Yeah.
Third stage, still in Africa. Fourth stage, still in Africa. Then we get to the 5th stage, we leave and travel around the world. We get to the 6th stage, which is our present stage, Homo sapiens sapien. We leave and we travel around the world. If man originated in North America or South America, show me 6 stages. You can't, because man didn't originate here. That's just black people who hate being black, who trying to change their origin and their identity. But I would say this. That's not going to stop until black people become a global superpower again. See, the reason why you got African Puerto Ricans calling themselves Latinos, and African Dominicans calling themselves Latinos, and African Cubans who call themselves Latinos is because they're not proud of anything being black. The reason you got black people calling themselves Cherokees and Choctaws and Seminoles and Native Americans, they don't see nothing proud in being black. The reason why black people will find out they got a white grandmom and now they think they 80% Irish all of a sudden. Yeah. Because they don't have a reason to be proud to be black. Yeah. The minute we make being black a badge of honor, everybody comes back home. Mm-hmm. See, when you are in a position of power, the Dominican is going to proudly say, I'm African. The Puerto Rican going to proudly say, I'm African. The Cuban going to proudly say, I'm African. All these Cherokees and Choctaw pretendian ninjas, they're going to proudly drop that and pick up the African banner. The reason nobody wants to be black is because most people consider it to be a badge of shame. Once you look at take China. When China was nothing, Chinese wasn't running around the world bragging about being Chinese. Now they are, because they the world superpower. Remember, the British were once the slaves of the Germans. The Germans said the British didn't even make a good slave. But didn't the British end up conquering 80% of the world? At one time, 25% of everybody on earth was a member of the British Empire, either a citizen or a subject. The point that I'm making, look at East India. Look at East India. Nobody respected them. Now they are the global tech giant of the planet Earth. My point is, all groups that are respected in the world today were once ignored and laughed at. If they can become great in 50 years, 75 years, 100 years, why can't we reclaim ours?
I love that one.
So my thing is, I don't go around convincing people they African. You feel me? Even when I'm in South Africa, they have a population known as coloreds, right? Mixed race. But they'll tell you in a minute, I am not African, I am colored. You know why? Because they don't have a reason to be proud to be black. But the minute black people in South Africa take them diamond mines back, and take them gold mines back, they'll be African then.
Yep, facts.
You ain't got to convince nobody to be black when blackness equals respect. Until blackness equals respect, nobody wants to be a part of it. All of us play sports, right? You ever been on a losing team? Who runs around bragging being on a losing team? But the minute y'all win 2 titles, you feel me?
Facts.
So when you win that city championship, now everybody want that t-shirt. You gotta give people a reason to be proud. Until we give people a reason to be proud, nobody wants to be African. I was in Jamaica, I had people in Jamaica telling me they wasn't from Africa. Because they don't see it as a badge of pride. We got to give them something to be proud of. And that's why with the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, I want to teach our boys to love who they are no matter what. Being African is a badge of honor. You should be proud of it, you know, but we have to make Africa great again. And we got to make African people great again. And Africans in the diaspora need to understand and recognize that as Africa goes, so goes the African world. None of us will become what we want to be until Africa becomes what she must be. Marcus Garvey said, a strong people are strong everywhere. Everywhere in the world you go, Jews are respected. Everywhere in the world you go, Arabs, East Indians, Chinese. Everywhere in the world you go, black people are disrespected. Do you know there's not a place on earth where we control our own economy? You can't name a country,
Not even Africa?
not even in Africa, where we control our own economy. Go to any black country in the world and look who controls the petty shops. Who's selling the food? Who's selling the clothes?
Yeah.
Who's selling the merchandise? We don't control a black economy on the earth. There is no black economy on earth. Everywhere you go, there's non-African selling. I don't care if you're in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Jamaica, Bahamas. I don't care where you go. Somebody who don't look like you is dominating your local economics.
So, Dr. Umar,
I got for you.
I had a burning question years ago, and then you answered my question without even knowing you answered my question, right? So I was like, because I've been blessed with a mind to wonder, and I've been blessed with vision. So I had this gutting feeling like everybody came from black people, right? But the one race I couldn't get to convince people that was from black people was the Chinese. And then I saw a video, you went to Indonesia or somewhere, you know, and they had the black Chinese.
Yeah.
They was in some mud houses with see, you took a while to remember because it was so long, but I've been watching it for so long.
Yeah, I remember.
And that like turned on the light bulb because my inner spirit has been bugging me for years from a kid, like, why their nose look like that? You know what I mean? Like, why they operate like that? Then from your video, I went in searching more and more and we even realized that Kung Fu, karate is from Africa.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The people, the Chinese, because when I tell people, no, original Chinese people are blacker than me and you.
Yes.
Even
the white man said it. The Greek philosopher said Africa has two great civilizations, Egypt in the north and India in the south.
Exactly. So it was your video that gave me confirmation that I was on the right track. That's years ago.
There was a Chinese...
like 10 years ago you put out that video, right?
Yes, but I just posted another one about a week ago, a Chinese geneticist. Chinese geneticist. I just put this a couple days ago. He did the genealogical research on blood. Right. And he found that the modern Chinese has a strand of DNA that could have only come from Africa.
Yeah, they're original.
He said all Chinese are descended from African people.
Yeah, that's why I asked you the question.
Everybody comes. Because remember, we was the only people in the world, for a long time. So we went everywhere. So everybody evolved from us.
I asked you the question because there are going to be a lot of people
except
watching.
The pretendians. Right. The pretendians will tell you they didn't come from Africa. So Chinese came from Africa, Arabs came from Latino. Everybody from Africa except the pretendians who look the most like Africa.
They're just pretending though. If you do that DNA trade, it's going to prove them lying. Yeah. So I ask you that question because there's a lot of people out there who still don't know that Chinese people were blacker than me.
But here's the thing. I'm going to go right back to the point I just made.
Yeah.
It means something to you and I because we're proud to be African.
Right.
Nobody else cares until we are in a position of power. Right. As long as we are on the bottom, no Chinese is going to run around saying that my great-great-great-great-grandfather was an African. Right. But the minute you in power again, and you got the diamonds and the gold and the coltan, every Chinese will be trying to claim African. You follow what I'm saying? We got to get our power back. And we got to stop letting people appropriate our culture. I think it's very disrespectful when we let non-Africans appropriate the culture because everybody wants to be black when it's time to play ball, when it's time to rap, when it's time to drink, go to the club, smoke some weed, buy some clothes, right? When it's time to floss and drip, everybody want to be black. But when it's time to fight against police brutality, where are they then?
Scared.
Has DJ Khaled ever been in a police brutality march? Because DJ Khaled has exploited black culture. He is an Arab. What has he done for black culture? Eminem, what has he done? DJ Vlad, what has he done? Look at all these non-Africans who are making millions of dollars off of our culture, but they never show up when we got to go to war against racism. And I don't even blame them. I'm not blaming Khaled, I'm blaming us. Because show me another people who will let an outsider
accept
come
them.
in,
Yeah, we accepted them.
exploit
Yeah.
my culture, make millions off of it, but you never around when it's time for us to defend black life. You always there when it's time to exploit black culture. You never around when it's time to defend black life.
How you felt about Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter was I believe Black Lives Matter was a government front group.
Yes, facts.
Financed by white folks to help the black LGBT community crush traditional black masculinity and take over the traditional grassroots black power movement. The purpose of Black Lives Matter was to bring all revolutionary black groups under an LGBT banner.
Okay.
But it failed. Thank God it failed.
Okay, what you feel about this?
I ain't never liked that shit.
Merk, this I was asking you right here, man, because I just remember asking you that AI. How you feel about AI?
Oh, the AI intelligence,
yeah.
artificial intelligence. Because I seen Elon Musk say
What'd he say?
that's going to be an existential threat to the human race.
Like, yo,
Oh, it is.
But I feel like he contradicting himself because he got Teslas.
He said it's the last thing you want right now. He like AI.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you continue to make the robot too intelligent and you don't know how to work out all the glitches and the controls,
Yeah.
anything can malfunction.
Yes.
If I teach a robot to kill people, and if it malfunctions, it's gonna start killing people. You feel me?
Yes.
So number one, I think that with artificial intelligence, there is definitely a threat to human safety if you continue to make these machines more and more independent, more and more self-reliant, more independent of human supervision, and then you give them dangerous responsibilities that involve safety and security. That's one issue. The other issue is artificial intelligence is going to destroy the traditional 9-to-5 job and 40-hour work week.
Just seen that.
If you keep on replacing people with computers, people will no longer be able to buy the things they need. If I can't buy, the economy collapses. The problem with capitalism is it's based on greed. And greedy people don't know when to stop taking. So they keep on reducing jobs because we got artificial intelligence, reducing jobs because we got artificial intelligence. But you fail to realize that by laying all these people off, they won't be able to buy nothing. So
Yes.
your economy
Will
falls.
crash.
McDonald's, for the first time in history, is laying off thousands of workers. You know why? Because they now got the automatic machines. You seen the new McDonald's?
Yeah.
They don't need a person. You just order. So they're laying off tens of thousands. Amazon, they don't need workers because the AI, the computer can do it all. When you call to Amazon when you ain't get your package, it's all computerized. They laying off tens of thousands. Who else? Amazon, McDonald's,
I seen a couple places
Facebook,
laying off a lot of people.
Meta. I think they laying, all the big corporations are laying off tens of thousands of people, right? Let me draw a slavery analogy. Okay? Slavery or artificial intelligence, two completely different things, but I want y'all to see this. One of the reasons slavery had to end is because as long as black people could do the work for free, white people couldn't eat. The poor white man hated slavery because it stopped him from taking care of his family. Slave labor crushed the job market. Do you feel me? So slavery had to end because the white man got tired of being broke. He was going to rise up against the government.
But artificial intelligence is
Doing the same thing.
Yes.
Artificial intelligence is putting people out of work. What happens when everybody's out of work and can't feed, clothe, or house their family? They're going to rise up against the government.
Craziness.
If capitalism doesn't watch it, this country will descend into chaos because white people are going to overthrow the government if too many of them go broke. The only thing keeping them from doing it right now is America keeps perpetuating this notion of a middle class, right? We have middle class. You can become middle class. Go to college, get a job. You can become middle class. But what they don't tell you is America rewrote the definition of class. Traditionally, class refers to what? Ownership of the means of production. Class was wealth. Black people ain't got no wealth. So how do you have a black middle class if black people don't own nothing? because they rewrote the definition. Guess what determines your class now? Education and occupation. It's no longer what you own. It's education and occupation. So let me give you an example. I'm a single black mother. I got 5 kids. I got 2 master's degrees. I'm a math coach at the local public school. I'm making $60,000 a year, but with 5 kids.
Yeah.
I'm dancing at the poverty line. According to Uncle Sam and the IRS, I'm not poor. I'm middle class.
Yeah.
You know why? Because how much I make don't matter. My job and my education. My money don't matter. And that's how they perpetuate the myth. Oh, this is what they say. The black middle class is larger than it's ever been. They're not talking about money. They're talking about college degrees and occupation. And black people better stop sending their kids to college and start sending them to trade school. Because with the artificial intelligence takeover, any job that a robot can do won't be around 10, 20 years from now. You have to make sure you are majoring in a profession that can only be done with human hands. You follow me?
Yeah.
The trades can only be done with human hands because it takes a human mind to analyze how to get this electric through here and around there. You follow me? Yeah. Plumbing, how to get this electric through here and around there. I'll give you some artificial intelligence for y'all. Let me come to psychology, right? My expertise. Don't you know that in COVID, our children were being tested electronically for special ed disabilities? In other words, there's computer programs that will now evaluate the kid. And even before that, when I test your kid, I can take their scores and put them in a program and hit return on a computer, and the computer will produce a psychological evaluation report.
Yeah.
Now, what's the problem with that? You might say, what's wrong with the computer? Did the computer see your kid? Did the computer talk to the mother? Did the computer talk to the teacher?
Yeah.
Did the computer see the grades? Did the computer see the test scores? Did the computer know that kid was sexually abused or a foster kid or his mama died or grandmom passed away? Is the computer able to take into account any of the contextual variables that might explain why he can't read other than a learning disability? Do you feel me? Yes. So artificial intelligence in the field of psychology is leading to the overdiagnosis of black people with problems they don't have. In psychology, I already see how artificial intelligence is causing problems with our people because some jobs must be done by humans. But when you live in a capitalist society driven by greed, the bottom line is the profit margin, not the best interests of people. And that's why I would argue capitalism is going to die a slow, painful death. Because people are going to wake up and recognize that capitalism was never intended to meet the needs of the majority of people. Capitalism, by definition, is exploitation of the many by the few. There's no way anybody can be comfortable under that. And that's why I'm not a socialist either, because although we look at capitalism and socialism as being opposites, I see them as mother and child. Capitalism gives birth to socialism. You want to know why? Once there's no jobs for us to take to work. Once the rich own everything, the only way we're going to eat is if they go to what? Universal basic income. Universal basic income is a form of socialism, right? You're giving without people earning. So everybody here going to get a universal basic income from the United States government. Why? Because there ain't no jobs left.
Yeah.
So do you see? That's socialism. And who gave birth to it? Capitalism.
That is the goddamn truth.
In the black community, is going to have to sit down and we're going to have a conversation about how to operate an economy that doesn't depend on currency. Let me give you an example, because money, we ain't going to have none. Plus, they're going to go to total electronic currency anyway, which is a disaster. Digital currency is a disaster. Do you think you would have got a Black Panther movement with digital currency? You think there would have been a Garvey movement with digital currency? When a white man can see everything you buy, everywhere you buy it, who you buy it from, how you gonna go get 100 guns to defend the community against the KKK? You can't.
Nah.
Digital currency is a trap for revolutions. Once we have universal digital currency, there will never be another revolution on the planet. Because the minute they see you using your money for hit that
Certain
button,
shit, yep.
turn it off.
Yeah.
Digital currency is a trap. And the black community has to come up with another type of an economy that's doesn't depend on currency. It may have to depend on service, a service economy. You know what I mean by that? You need a babysitter for your son, right? My wife is a cook. Or no, you a cook. My wife gonna babysit, you gonna provide the food for the house.
Yeah. Okay.
You feel me?
Yeah.
I'm the psychologist, you the barber. I'm gonna do therapy for your children, you gonna cut my kids' hair. You follow what I'm saying? We're gonna need a service economy, trade without money in order for us to survive what we about to go through as black people.
Agreed.
Why is Bill Gates buying up all
Farmland.
of the farmland?
Yeah, that's
Because
Control the food.
not only control the food, it's deeper. These ninjas,
what you're buying.
white ninjas, have come up with a technology that is, I think they call it RNA resistant crop. Not GMO no more. GMO, it don't grow again. You feel me? You grow it one time, it decimates the soil, it's dead. GMO was cancer for soil. This RNA resistant crop, you are able to engineer the seed to search and destroy a certain type of genetic composition. They can make a seed that will target black people, so when you ingest the fruit and vegetable, it automatically goes to attack on your immune system.
Damn.
Imagine putting the AIDS virus in your food. The reason Bill Gates is buying up all the farmland, allegedly, is so that he can grow all this RNA-resistant food, so now your fruits and vegetables become the thing that's killing you.
Yes. Damn.
And then there's another company that's buying up all of the real estate. And they're turning everything that, what are they doing? They're either eliminating rental properties or they're eliminating purchase properties. I think they're eliminating purchase properties.
Yeah.
They're eliminating purchase. They only want you to be a renter, so you have no control over what goes on. And if you are a renter, if I raise the price of that rent too high, you can't afford it. Now, here's the irony. Bill Gates is not an agriculturalist. The company that's buying up all the real estate and turning it into rental, they're not into real estate.
Yeah.
So you know why they're doing this? What are the two most important things? You need them every day. Food and a place to sleep.
Yeah.
Food and a place to sleep. So the way these damn devils figure, if I control all the food, which is going to be RNA resistant, you control all the rental properties that people can afford to live in, we can induce as much homelessness as we want. And it's easy to kill off homeless people because most people see them as dregs from society.
Just taking up space.
They're about to breed a panic like we've never seen before. They're targeting us particularly.
I believe
But
that.
it's still going to spill outside. But they're targeting black people particularly. That's why Bill Gates is buying all that farmland, because he says, listen, AIDS didn't kill them all. COVID didn't kill them all. Poor nutrition didn't kill them all. I know how I'm going to get them. Black people want to eat healthy? No problem. Come and buy your food from Bill Gates's farmer's market. And everything you eat is going to kill your ass. In the name of African racial extermination.
She had a question, Umar.
Sure, Queen.
Oh, well, I don't know if he asked you this already. But I know that you are a doctor, so you have your doctorate's degree and you tapped in on education, and we as parents should encourage our kids to go to trade. I totally agree with that, because you should pick up a trade even if you want to go pursue college. But what was the motivation behind you taking it, like going the long haul, all the way to getting a doctorate degree? Like, what is the reason for that if you know that the education system is so flawed?
Great question. I started college in 1992. My generation was probably the last generation for whom a college education was relevant, aside from the high status professions. So aside from the doctor, the lawyer, the engineer, right? The year 2000, I would argue, with the presidency of George W. Bush, I believe at that time, college for everybody became obsolete. being a psychologist, it just so happens I was in a career that is relevant because black people crazy, right? So as long as we mentally ill, I'll always have a job. I wanted to be a psychologist since the 3rd grade. I didn't know psychology was an in-demand profession. I chose it because I always wanted to be a therapist since elementary school. So I just stayed with my dream. It just so happened it ended up being relevant. But to your point, now, higher education is doing nothing but putting our children into long-term student loan debt. You follow me? Everybody I know is going to be paying off student loans for the rest of their life. Most of them don't even use that education in their job
They just out
or
here.
in their debt. So what is the purpose of picking up loan debt to get a meaningless piece of paper that you're never even going to make use of in your career or in your life? We have to go back to trade school. The reason black people are allergic to trade is because in slavery, all we did was the trades. And in pre-civil rights, Jim Crow, all we did was the trades. So in a lot of our minds, when we think of trade, we think of second-class citizen. But I'm gonna tell you this, renovating the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy has convinced me otherwise. I look at what we pay for a little bit of work. You follow what I'm saying? We paying these electricians, they're making in 2 months what it takes a surgeon to make in a year. I'm seeing plumbers making a week what it takes a doctor to make in 6 months. True. So we have totally missed the ball on this thing. We think you gotta have a white shirt and a tie. No, the ones who get their hands dirty still make the most money. Like you said, if it was up to me, every black child would go to trade school first. If you want to go to college afterwards, you can.
Yeah.
But to spend your first 2 years getting licensed to be a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter, I regret not becoming a psychologist. I regret having never picked up a trade. Because where I went to college, right down the street was a trade school. And so now I say to myself, damn, I should have took up plumbing or electric or something so I can at least do some of the renovation on my own schools.
In hindsight, right?
Yes.
A lot of high school, when they say that you can do it enroll, you don't have to necessarily go to the community college. You can go to a technical school. You could go to like a Sheridan Tech or any technical school and pick up a trade. But they don't encourage that when you go to your guidance counselor.
They don't.
What
They don't encourage it.
Is look at the BC curriculum, try to stay within the coursework of what you're going to be studying when you go off to college.
The other thing too, Queen, that we have to do as a people, and if I was Secretary of Education or if I was Superintendent of Schools anywhere, one of the first things I'm doing is I'm putting the trade skill building programs back in the high schools. One of the things that made it so easy for the war on drugs to get us is they deindustrialized the black community. 60 to 80% of black people were laborers until the 70s. And the black family was together until the 70s. It's not until the 70s where they take the electric program, the plumbing, the auto mechanic, the welding, the roofing. It's not until they take that out the black high school that you start seeing unemployment for black men go. So when the CIA dropped off the crack in the 1980s, they had already created the situation for us to sell the dope because you took all the jobs out the black community. This was done by design. There is no fighting against the violence in our community. There's no fighting against the drugs in our community. There's no fighting against the unemployment or incarceration in our community until we put the trade programs back in the high schools. And I was told personally by a school board member in Philadelphia. She told me to my face, everything you're saying is correct. I want to put the trades back in the schools. Guess who's not letting me do it? The white trade unions. The white racist labor unions don't want the trades in the high school. You know why? As long as they're not teaching our kids,
have to pay them.
They have to pay them, and they control who get the training and who get the jobs. So here's another question.
So wait, have you thought of going into representational politics? Because how are you gonna?
They would kill me in a week.
Okay.
You feel me? I wouldn't even mess with it. I wouldn't. And like Dr. King, because they tried to get Dr. King to go. Dr. King said, I'm far more effective serving my people on the streets than I ever could. And to fairness to other people, fairness to whites.
So what protects you outside of politics?
Nothing. But I don't want to be put in a position where I'm forced to compromise my principles because I have to cater to more interests than just my people. Right. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because it's an organization at the end
of the day. And at the end of the day,
you're gonna have to follow. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if voting could change anything, voting would be illegal. Democracy is a scam. Democracy is a system created by those in power to make poor people think you can radically transform your reality without violence and revolution. That's all democracy. That's why America says we got to make the world safe for democracy. Why you got to make the world safe for democracy? Because if most of the people in the world woke up, they would understand a ballot ain't gonna change shit. Bullets do. Show me a revolution, Queen, that's ever changed anything show me a change that's ever come through elections and not revolution. Did the Chinese revolution come through elections? No. Did the Russian revolution come through elections? No. Did the Cuban revolution come through elections? No. Did the American revolution come through elections? No. Did the African there has never been a revolution in human history where people was able to change their conditions by voting for somebody.
So you're saying voting doesn't count?
At all, to me.
I'm not gonna say at all.
So if we didn't vote at all,
you will get the same thing you get now, nothing. But here's the thing. No, stay with me though. Stay with me, because I want to be clear.
But wouldn't we give them an excessive amount of power?
They already have it, because nobody takes the black vote serious, because the black vote isn't connected to any contingencies. We don't demand anything for our votes.
Why did they legalize weed?
Because they've already locked enough black people up for it. Number one. Number two.
It just popped into my head.
Number two. Biochemical warfare against African people. A lot of the marijuana that we're getting now is synthetic.
It's fucked with. Yeah.
And it's being sprayed by cannabinoids coming out of China. And these cannabinoids that they're spraying the weed with make the weed smell 100% stronger. Yeah. And it makes you get 100% higher.
Oh, so that's why the Chinese are dominating the market.
Oh, absolutely.
They're growing so much in California.
They got the fake weed and they got the cannabinoids. The Chinese got the fake weed on lock. But here's the thing though. They said the toxicity of the fake weed is 10 times worse than the opioids. So look at what the opioid crisis is doing. Once enough of this artificial weed gets injected into the community, you're going to see New Jack City like you've never seen it before. The new crack is going to be the artificial weed sprayed with the cannabinoids. They legalized it so they could contaminate it and put it in your community. You got to be, if you smoking weed, you better be growing it or you better be getting it from somebody who is growing it. Yeah. You cannot import it. I saw a documentary. They interviewed 3 of the biggest marijuana dealers in the world. And they said if people knew what they were smoking, and they said, one guy said, I don't even want to sell fake weed. I want to sell real weed. He said, you can't even get it no more. The fake weed has dried up the industry now, and that's all they putting out there.
You can't get it in America.
Yeah, and it's difficult to get into other places too. So the fake weed is going to be the new weed.
I think it's difficult to get it at Jamaica. A lot of grassroots farmers are still...
But you know what? Did Jamaica legalize?
Yes, they did.
They did.
It is decriminalized. Okay. It's legalized, but they're still working on it.
Okay.
They're still working on it.
Here's my position on weed. Whether you have organic weed or the toxic synthetic weed. The reason I was against the legalization of marijuana, except to let blacks out of prison, I supported it for that. Oppressed people are always looking for distractions, not to pay attention to solving their problems. Marijuana is another distraction from revolution. You follow me? If we ain't drinking, if we ain't smoking, if we ain't Christ out at church, right? Now we high on weed all damn day long.
What do you do for fun, Dr. Umar?
Read, study, meditate, pray, organize.
All there.
Play chess.
All there, man.
Okay.
Here's the thing. We got to have a psychological revolution before we can have anything else. Nothing changes without this, right?
Yeah.
So God give each of us a century to live, give or take us a decade or two, right? You're going to live to be 80, not likely to live past 120, right? I've decided to make my contribution to the global African revolutionary struggle through education and mental health. My contribution is going to be, I would like to become the first superintendent of a fully independent African global school district. So after we're done the school in Delaware, right, and we're in our final renovations right now, the only thing left is HVAC sensors. They were there today. They got to come back. Hopefully they're done within a week or two. I was going to have the grand opening February 25th, last Saturday, in February. It's not out of the question, but I think I'm going to push it to April because we ain't going to have enough time because we still got to paint and beautify it. Because, you know, the plumber, they put holes in all in the walls, so we got to close it up. So I think we might wait till April. Anyhow, once we get the first school done, I think it'll be easy to put them all over. We need FDMG Miami. We need FDMG Orlando. We need FDMG Jacksonville. We need FDMG Fort Lauderdale, FDMG Fort Myers, you understand? FDMG Jamaica, FDMG London, FDMG Turks and Caicos, FDMG St. Croix. I would like to go to my grave knowing I helped create this global system. So if you decide you want to move to Ghana and your son is in FDMG Miami, you could take him to FDMG Ghana, he'd pick up right where he was.
How do we get into the school?
What do you mean by get in?
How can we enroll? Like,
Okay.
what are the qualifications for the students?
You just got to be a black boy.
Oh, it's an all-boys school.
Yes, but within 3 to 5 years, we want to extend it to the girls. So the Anna Douglas, Amy Garvey Princess Academy will be starting in about 3 to 5 years, right? We're going to begin school August the 17th of 2024. That will be orientation, Marcus Garvey's birthday. August 21st of 2024, they go to the Nat Turner land trail because Nat Turner, the greatest revolutionary in American soil, his revolution began on the 40th anniversary of the Haitian Revolution beginning, right? Which happens to be my birthday, August 21st, Leo season. Anyway,
Leo.
on September the 3rd, which is the day Frederick Douglass ran away from slavery out of Baltimore, school will start.
Will the school be
Second,
accredited?
third, and fourth. Well, remember, your accreditation comes from the state.
Right.
If you want any additional accreditations, you got to go search them.
Gotcha.
Will I be looking for any additional accreditations? No. I don't need any white people to validate what I do. Okay?
No.
Straight up.
So once the state of Delaware say you good, I'm good. I don't need no white folk telling me what they think of what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
You understand me? Intellectual freedom.
I think the reason I'm asking that is because eventually the kids might have different choices on what they want to do. Like the next step, like if they want to go to college or
But accreditation does not take away from that or add to it.
Okay.
Remember, homeschool kids go to college every day. Their parents have no credentials. Do you follow what I'm saying? So that's not the issue. The issue is when you take that SAT,
the test,
in that ACT,
right,
in that college placement test, how do you do? In other words, FDMG will get a reputation based on how our students perform. You follow what I'm saying? That will be our accreditation. You follow?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is the first year going to be second, third, and fourth grade, right? Second, third, and fourth. Every year we're going to expand up and down a grade. So the second year will be first through fifth. Third year, K through 6. Fourth year, pre-K through 7. Fifth year, daycare through 8. And then the high school. We have 2 schools. So the Marcus Garvey Elementary School, that's what's about to be finished. Then we got to get the Frederick Douglass High School renovated, right? Which is much bigger. Once we get Douglass up and running, we will be the largest independent black school campus in the country. The only independent black school with 2 schools. We own the whole block. And the only one that services black boys in 4 states. And the only one in the history of America built exclusively with black money. So some of y'all might decide to move up there.
right?
If you got children in that age group, you feel me? Because you might want them to be a part of the FDMG movement. Because not only.
How big are you guys thinking of doing like the classroom sizes and things like that?
I want to stick to 20 max.
Okay.
I want to stick to 20 max. Not only will we be a school by day, In evening and on weekends, we will be the Central Black Conscious Community Organizing Center. You feel me? We're gonna have classes for pregnant sisters, classes for young couples, newlyweds, keeping them together. I'm gonna have a conscious singles convention. So for single black people who conscious, you're trying to find you a king, you're trying to find you a queen, you wanna meet somebody who woke, we gonna have that.
Yeah.
Black Farmers Convention, Black Business Investment Conference. I'm gonna have a Black Cosmetology Expo where if you make your own homemade cosmetic, let's say you do shea butter. He got his own shampoo for beards. He got his own body butter, whatever the case. I wanna showcase Black art, Black talent. You feel me? And because I speak so much, I got a house full of shea butter because everywhere I go, the vendors is giving me their own shea butter. And guess what? No two shea butters was the same. So I said, I need to put this out for the world, and then we have a competition. Let's say all y'all do shea butter, right? We gonna put it in a cup. Everybody who come to the convention gonna try it, and you gonna vote which one of these the best. And whoever wins gets some money, and you get a shea butter trophy. This is #1 shea butter, FDMG, Shea Butter Fest, boom, boom. And you put that on your brand, and it helps save you. Black Comic Book Convention, Black Ex-Offender Convention, Black Woman, Black Men, everything we need as a race, we will do it at FDMG. So I'm happy for the school, but we ain't stopping there. You feel me?
Yeah.
It's going to be something for everybody. So what y'all have to do is find out how you can fly direct to Philly from Miami, which is simple because I just flew American Airlines direct from Philly to Miami, 2-hour flight. So it's going to be easy for y'all because you got an international airport, right? People who don't have an international airport, it may be a little bit more difficult, but you're only a 2-hour flight. So anything we doing you want to do, let's say you want your son to come to my summer camp. You feel me? Fly him up there or put him on a plane. We get him from the airport. You feel me? So even if the black boy cannot attend the school, he can still be a part of the family. He can go hunting with us. He could go to Africa with us. You feel me? He could go camping with us. You feel me? Even if he can't be there for the school, you can still be part of the family. We're going to have something for everybody. But to work at the school, all black women have to be 100%
All black women?
nappy by nature.
Yeah.
No weave, no perm. This is Garvey.
I have this excellent.
Marcus Garvey said, don't take the kinks out your head, take them out your mind.
Yes.
And the girls, when we open up the Princess Academy, all natural.
Natural.
You might be all natural though.
That's hard though.
You all natural or you got a little straightening there?
No, this all me, but I mean,
all natural.
I'm not opposed to wearing some weave every now and
If
then.
you working at the school,
You cannot.
no weaves. Leave the horse tail on the horse.
Dr. Umar.
Dr.
But we will
Umar.
have co-ed staff. Women can teach there as well as men.
Thank you so much, man.
No problem. I enjoyed this. Anybody who need to reach me, you can hit me up, 215-989-9858. That's my personal cell. You can text me. Email address, drumarjohnson@yahoo.com, drumarjohnson@yahoo. If you want to donate to the school, hit your Cash App, $FDMG School. Be careful, there's a lot of fake Cash Apps that the coons put out. Make sure you donating to the right link. FDMG School. If you're not sure, text me, go to the website. My PayPal Africans, my international Africans, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Check a money order, P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. If you want to work at the school, send me your resume, photo, and cover letter. Cover letter should tell me who you are and why you want to work at the school. Email that to fdmgresumes@gmail.com. Do not worry about being a certified teacher. A lot of what we're teaching is not certified by state. So what I mean is we need people who know how to do natural hair to teach it to our children. We need people who know how to do African martial arts, gun training, documentary film production. If you know how to sew, make clothing, anything that you can teach our children that you feel is a life skill worth having, we should get your resume. You can work there or you can be involunteer, but come be a part of history because we are going to make history. This school we making, you've never seen nothing like it in your life. We would love to have you work there. We want to have a very diverse teaching core. We want African teachers from all over the world. We want to introduce our children to black people from all over the world. So again, send your resume, reach out to me. Parents, stop putting your kids in special ed unnecessarily. Stop getting them evaluated for ADHD. Stop letting them take medication. Ritalin is no good. Adderall, Concerta, Cyclert, Metadate ain't nothing but synthesized cocaine. Stop giving your kids crack. They don't need drugs. They need love. Give them an independent black education. Black power.
Black power, man. We signing out, baby.
Thank you very much, Dr. Umar.
No problem.
Round the way.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.